for Montecito consent calendar items to order. Item C1, 945 Mariposa. Is anybody here for that, please?
Hello, Chair Watson, Steve Welton from Land Use Consulting here with the folks from Rios. Mark Rios is here, I believe. And Mark, do you want to go ahead and take it away?
I don't know that we need,
Oh,
did you have a chance to
yeah.
review this?
I did. I'm not,
Comments?
so I don't remember this project in general, so I don't know what specifically we were supposed to focus on, but, I mean, overall, I thought the plan, I mean, it had nice structure to it, maybe even a little stiff overall, but, and the only thing that I thought that struck me is the entry gate seemed a little, overly needed, like they needed a little pizzazz, not much, but they were a little too Spartan.
You be able to support the project as submitted?
Yeah, I think, overall, I think it's, I guess I would just like them to think about that a little more. And, but other than that, I think they did a nice job.
And Mark, this is an extremely minor comment, but in your details, you don't have the roof venting for those cantilevered areas, which you will see as you look up at them, and they're required 150 to 100 square feet, 1 to 150. So, and it's got to be a fire rated. So it's going to be fairly wide. I've had problems with that on my own projects, but I just wanted to alert you to that. Besides that, I thought the project was great.
Right. Thanks for the heads up.
Oh, I would recommend approval. If
Yeah,
if they've got
That's-
the gate, I don't see why we need to get involved with it.
No, I think it's a really nice looking project overall and, really.
Did you ever get to see this project?
No.
No, well, you missed an opportunity. Okay, so we will recommend approval and thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Okay, have a nice holiday.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, item C2354 Woodley Road. Is there anybody here for that? Please, item number C2. Okay, let's go to item C3. Zach, are you here? 1491 Edgecliff Lane. Zach or somebody else from Warner and Gray? Okay, item C4. Yeah. Anywhere you want. So we're on for preliminary final. Did you have a chance to review this, please?
Was this the project way up top that, Claire
Yeah.
came in and,
Yep.
yeah, I thought this was a nice project. I thought the only thing that I recall having a comment on was I thought the palm tree was a little out of place. So I don't know if we've moved past that or,
Are you push the little horizontal button? There you go.
Okay. We did talk about the palm tree. In 2004, this went through design review and had an approved landscape plan, and that is a part of that. And they love their palms. So we're not proposing any work to the landscape at this time. So
okay.
palm will stay.
My bigger problem with it was, I believe, if I recall correctly, was a queen palm. Well, I'm asking a question.
Photos, I can't.
Yeah, and my concern with that is it tends to get really tall, kind of along, not quite like a Washingtonia, but that when you get into those kind of skyline palms, up in kind of the really rural rustic, right at the base of the foothills, it really seems out of place. So normally I would kind of like say I'm fine with it, but
What do you want to do about that? Bill, and
yeah.
what do you want to
There's-
do?
We have our photos and we can.
Yeah,
see
I'd just like to see it, see if maybe I'll change my mind.
very long time. We do even have drone shots, and I'm not sure if that was included in the original submittal, but we weren't
Oh,
prepared.
they are there, they're in place, and they're doing fine.
They have been there for
Okay.
a long time.
So you're okay?
Well, on that
Good.
basis
There's-
only,
there we
but,
go. You can zoom into
yeah,
that.
yeah, this top center photo.
Mhm. Is there a way to zoom
Okay.
into that?
Is there a way to, yeah.
It is.
All right. Well, what helps with that, those will, they're kind of absorbed a little bit by the hill behind them. So,
Hillside.
but it's not really a great choice for that kind of air, for that, area, but I'm okay in terms of, yeah, the rest of the stuff looks really nice. So.
And you're changing the color,
Yeah, so that was the biggest shift. We had originally proposed.
and I reviewed, and I actually got a phone call from Claire. I sent her up your sheet, and she said, thank you very much. She wanted to express that to you and your client. And I'm ready for preliminary final. Are you?
Yeah, yeah.
So, the county councils asked us to, at this meeting and at the full board, is there anybody attending this consent calendar review that'd like to address us on item number C4260 West Mountain Drive, please? Okay, and I'll ask that again at the consent calendar. And if you want to stay, great, and if not, have a happy holiday.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we're back to, item C2, anybody? 354 Woodley. Item C3, 1491 Edgecliff. Okay, item C5, 1787 Fernald Point Lane. Tim, are you here, or somebody from your office, please?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, so did you have any comments about this, Rob?
What are we reviewing in particular? Because I don't think I was around when this project was first approved, and I was,
Minor things. There's a little about the paving that I think, was that Stacy that brought that up, Tim?
yeah, it was kind of a mix of,
Yes.
And
I think-
lighting and things like that.
There
So,
were two minor architectural notes about the detail for the polycarbonate and the roof vents, I think, and then the dark skylighting, which was in Scout's landscape plan, was actually referencing the architectural lighting, which we had previous approval on as dark sky rated. So we've, in our new set, you've got the new details for the polycarbonate attachments. And just a word about the vents in the roof. They are not actually attic vents. We use those to collect and vent the bathroom, both the air exhaust and the plumbing vents. But we are, and we don't believe you can see them either from the beach or from the street, but we're still looking for a way to try to find other ways to vent the plumbing other than using those false copper dormer vents.
could we go to the site plan for a second, please? I'm waiting for the drawing to come up, but my reaction to it was it seemed like there was, and I guess this is just a comment, and it might be that this ship has sailed, was it seemed like there's a lot of mix of different styles, I guess, was what I was reacting to, but
I think that ship has sailed.
okay. Did you have any?
Yeah, so Tim, I saw that you did make some slight adjustments to the lighting, particularly down at the beach. Can you tell me, you changed the fixture, it looks like, is that correct?
Yes, and I think Chantal from Scout's team is on. Chantal, can you speak to that?
Oh, hi, yes. So are you talking about the light fixtures that are along the wall?
Yes,
Yes.
specifically.
Yeah, so it is dark sky compliant, and on our landscape sheet, I think is sheet L3, we have a photo um, taken from the beach looking up towards the property. And it really, it's pretty limited visibility from the beach looking up. So it's just in the far right corner. Oh, sorry. So I don't think that those lights are going to be seen at all.
Well, it was, I'm not worried about anything, not worried, but there were some lights right on that retaining wall, yes?
Right. Yes. Yes. And they're still there. Yes.
Okay, so you, looks like you changed the fixture, but you didn't change the number or location, correct?
I did not, the fixture is not changed and the number and location is not changed from the last time you've seen our plan.
Okay, so is it on a separate circuit, please? Lighting switch, separate lighting switch?
Um, well, yeah, we were going to do all the front lighting on one transformer and the ocean side on another transformer, so they could be controlled separately.
And does that have a timer on it or anything like that, please?
Yes, yes, the transformer will have a timer.
And when's it designed to go to shut off, please? Is it on every night, please?
I can't speak to that. I would have to kind of refer to the client. So it's kind of up to her if she's going to be putting them on every night or not. I don't know, but I don't think they need to be on every night.
Okay, a whole series of lighting changes came through the ordinance revisions, and it was heard, what, about a month ago, something 2 months ago at the planning commission, that lighting, yeah. And I don't know that it's been officially adopted yet by the county of Santa Barbara Board of Supervisors. But one of the things specifically that came down is little or no light down near the water. And I don't mind some lighting, but I would want to make sure that it is only used when you guys are using that area. I've walked the beach a number of times and I've never seen anybody from that household down there, I don't think. So I would expect that the lights would be off 99% of the time. And I want to make sure that it's not something that, oh, well, we have the lights, let's just click them on. So is there a way that you could address that? And come back and talk to me about that after we give you the final tonight?
Okay, so you just, to clarify, you want us to be able to put those lights on a switch so they can be switched on and off easily. Right, I just want clarification.
And only used
Yeah.
when you guys are down there
Okay.
using it. You know, if you're down there
Okay.
using it, safety, enjoyment, all of that. But if you're not down there, the general concept has been from the planning commission and as I understand it, both planning commissions, is let's keep the lights at the water off.
John,
Okay.
may I
Yeah.
insert something here?
Yes, please.
The lights in this diagram on the site plan and the pink rectangles are at the top of the ridge, about 20 feet above the water and set back. I don't think we're planning any new lighting in the lower section, which you see in the bottom photograph. Everything is up on the top.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing down on that retaining wall that's down there?
No, there is not any landscape lighting down there.
Thank you for pointing that out, Tim. I didn't realize that. Yeah, please.
Sure.
So could we go back to, there's a hardscape sheet in there, and I actually have one very minor comment with that. I think there's one more. You're kind of nearby it, but you passed it. Maybe that's it. Is there one more sheet? Is there a hardscape? No, that's lighting, irrigation. Go back then. So a couple things on that. Is the very minor thing I saw is you have and this is very minor, but you have a perimeter band on the whole driveway paving, and then it doesn't complete itself up near the house. It looks like it's missing. Um, and
Uh, oh,
Can you go back one sheet? Sorry.
the other way.
yes, the other way. Okay, this is clear here.
Yeah, so
Oh, are you, uh-huh.
there's a perimeter band that you have around the whole perimeter driveway is missing up near that fountain piece at the house. Um, and then you have some inconsistency. You've got these cross bands, which actually busy it up. What are the cross bands on that other sheet? What is the intent there? Is that just decorative?
We decided to remove those crossbands. Sorry, the irrigation plan didn't get
Okay.
updated
Yeah, I
like
like
for
them.
that, but yes.
I like them
yeah.
removed. And then one other just question, is that fountain, the little, uh, oh,
Octagon.
yeah, the little octagon, that looks awfully close to those doors. How close is it? So, and that's nothing I guess I would just point that out, that it looks like it's too close to the doors, but nothing that would affect approval on this. Or is that already in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand your
The
question.
fountain, the octagon
Mhm.
fountain, the star fountain,
Right. Mhm.
that in the very formal Moorish kind of style, looks
Mhm.
like it's like right at the front doors, like you can barely get in and out of those doors before you.
There should be a minimum of 5 or 6 feet between the doors and then that fountain.
All right, maybe it's the
There's
scale.
some, there's,
Looks really, it doesn't
yeah.
look like, well, actually, I'm looking at your scale and it doesn't look like 5 feet. It looks like 3 feet or something. So anyways, just a comment on that, but otherwise, and I'm glad to remove those bands, so thank you.
So are you okay with it besides?
Yeah, I just encourage, I don't need the drawing to be changed. I mean, I just think the comment I made was the fountain in the driveway that up by that fountain there where the parking is, the covered parking. I mean, there's a band missing there. So, I mean, you might, to me, it doesn't close itself. Very minor comment.
Okay, is there anybody attending this meeting interested in addressing the board on item C5-1787 Fernald Point Lane, please?
During the review, we did have a hand up. Alicia Mora.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify on the lighting. Lauren would like most of that lighting switch so that when she is not there, it will not be on. She wants to keep the lighting at a minimal, only when needed.
Okay. Okay, very good. Is that it?
That's it for me.
Okay, so
Approve it.
okay
Yeah,
with
let's approve it.
with this project?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to recommend final, preliminary and final is submitted. Have a nice holiday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, everybody.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Zach, item C3-1491 Edgecliff Lane, preliminary and final. Do you have any comments about this, Rob, please?
Can I just see the plan on it, please? Were there comments? What was the comments before?
Okay, so nice project.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, well then we'll go with that.
Okay, I had nothing either, so, thank you for finishing up. It is on for preliminary, so is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C3-1491 Edgecliff Lane, please?
No requests.
Okay, so we're gonna recommend final, preliminary and final for this. Thank you. Have a happy holiday. Please, item C2-354 Woodley Road. Is there anybody here? Jason, somebody else? Okay, do you have any comments about this?
Could I see I looked at this, but I'm just. What were your comments, John, while we?
They have a light, one of their paint colors has a very bright white color on it. But I can make that they have a dual tone paint scheme. You okay with this?
It was just a second edition, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think they added some dormers and things like that.
Okay, pretty, is the landscaping meant to be that denuded, inside the boxwood hedge, just gravel?
I know they were not doing, I don't think they expanded the exterior of the building at all, as I remember. They like reworked some things and got some more square footage inside the building.
Yeah, I don't,
Okay, so I will recommend for both preliminary and final with all paint colors to be at an LRV of 84 or less as a condition, okay? And again, have a preliminary, so is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C2, 354 Woodley Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, good. So we're done with the consent calendar for this right now? I'd like to call the December 5th, 2024 Montecito Board of Architectural Review to order. First item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody that'd like to address the board on an item not before us today, please?
No requests.
Okay. Agenda status report. Anybody, anything?
No changes today.
Okay, we may move agenda item 8 around just to maintain a quorum. And we'll play that a little bit by ear. Minutes, any comments on the minutes, please, of November 14th? Anybody? No. Okay. I had just one or two small things. Okay, and item number 3, 1190 Hill Road. This is a project that Mark Lloyd brought through up on Hill. Comment number 1, restudy site layout, consider relocating residents farther into lot. I don't remember that being said. Did somebody say that, please?
I thought about this project and it seemed like that the residents and the driveway and all that could be done much more successfully. So there's some degree where so I don't remember specifically that being said, but that was the gist of some
Are
of the
we okay
comments.
with having that here? That's a fairly important comment.
Weren't they working with the existing footprint kind of?
There is-
two buildings.
Yeah, no.
Putting them
It was also in
together.
the context of providing a backyard, I believe is, an area for a backyard was the reason that it came up.
They're taking out the tennis court and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I-
leave it
I think
in?
We could leave it, yeah.
Are we okay with leaving it in there, Steve? Oh, okay.
I think with that, they wanted to encourage them to really look at citing things a lot more in a much
Okay.
better fashion. So that gives them that flexibility, I think.
Okay, and then the only other comment I have is on our adjournment motion. Bill, were you still with us at the end of that meeting? I thought you
Made
left.
the motion.
Yeah.
He made the motion.
Okay, very good. So that's all I have. Anybody else got anything?
So that no changes then?
No changes.
Good job, Kimberly.
That doesn't mean we don't question, but.
My early Christmas present, thank you.
So I'll move for adoption of the minutes as presented.
I will
there a second?
That.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dave?
One abstention.
Dave abstains. Okay, item number 4. MBAR informational briefing. Anybody go anywhere, do anything, please?
No, but I will be stepping down on item
8.
item 8 on the agenda.
Okay, anything else?
Down on C1.
D1, okay. Anything else? Okay, staff update, please.
Nothing for me, thank you.
The only thing I have is I finally got around to finalizing the hearing calendar for next year, and I'll email that out to the group.
Okay, and did the board of supervisors approve or something with Miramar?
That is on next week's agenda,
Ah,
on the 10th.
I thought it was last week. Okay. So, next thing is Montecito consent calendar. Rob and I reviewed it. There were 5 items and we are here to report. So item C1, we recommend approval as submitted for final approval. So I'll move, so moved. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
One abstention. Yeah.
Okay,
Or recuse, right?
Cues, yeah.
okay. Item C2, 354 Woodley Road. I'd like to move for approval with the all paint colors to be at an LRV of 84 or less. We're on for both preliminary and final, so I'd like to ask whether or not there's anybody that would like to address the board on item C2 354 Woodley Road, please.
No requests.
Okay, is there a second to my motion?
Again,
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
On, sorry, John, back on C1, I realized that I had to recuse myself on that one. So is that an issue?
Yes, it is an issue. We don't have quorum.
You just have to wait for Stacy. to
Wait
get
for
here.
Stacy to come back.
Okay.
Okay. That was the one I think I had to stand down on too, so.
Okay, so, item C3, 1491 Edge Cliff, we're on for preliminary final. We reviewed it and felt that everything was okay as submitted. So is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C3, 1491 Edge Cliff Lane, please?
No requests.
Okay, I'll move for preliminary and final as submitted. Is there a second, please? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Item C4, again, preliminary final, 260 West Mountain Drive. This is a project where Claire came in September 5th. I wasn't there that meeting, and asked that the color be changed, which they did do. It's now a tannish color. We are on for preliminary final. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board on item C4, 260 West Mountain Drive, please?
No requests.
I'd like to move for preliminary and final on item C4 as submitted. Is there a second, please?
Second that.
All the further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? And again, one more preliminary final, item C5, 1787 Fernald Point Lane. We reviewed it, had several discussions about lighting and things, which I think at the end of the day, we said what they had submitted was acceptable. So is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C5, 1787 Fernald Point Lane?
No requests.
Okay, I'd like to move for preliminary and final for this project. Is there a second?
Second that.
And all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
John, I know that you already approved it, but the applicant for item C2 is online. If you'd like to, if there's anything you wanted to share.
Yeah, your light color, the delicate white that you have has an LRV of 88, and this board has not approved an LRV of greater than 84 for 2-3 years now, 4 years, sometime, long time. So we granted approval with an LRV of 84 or no paint color greater than 84. Okay?
I noticed also.
And besides, you may want to take that lower paint color and drop it down if you want to keep the contrast there or not. That's your choice. But no paint color greater than LRV of 84, please.
Understood. We'll get that
Okay.
updated. Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
I did notice, John, that Dave, you recused yourself on item C5 also. Is that? Okay. All right.
can you or not? You can vote on it? We can wait for Stacy if you want.
Yeah, I think we have to wait for Stacy for another one anyhow.
Okay, so, yeah, let's keep everything squeaky clean on this board, please. Okay? Well, we've been moving through everything quickly now. You can see we have 4 members today. We have a requirement of 4 members for a quorum. Dave has to leave around 4 o'clock. Bill has a project, the last project. So when Stacy comes, we're going to take Bill's project and move it in whenever that is. And then we'll just pick up the agenda, okay? Okay, just so that everybody knows. Item 1, 690 San Ysidro Road, conceptual review. Is there anybody here for that, please?
Yeah, John, Daryl Becker with Becker Studios and Derek Eichelberger with Arcadia Studios here to review 690 San Ysidro Road. The project is an existing residence. The scope of work was generated as a result of an interior floor plan change and thus causing some window changes on the outside of the property. So overall, the scope of work is renovation and reconfiguration of existing bathrooms, kitchens, and bedrooms, which you probably aren't concerned about, and then replacement and reconfiguration of doors, windows, and removal of 13 skylights. It'd probably be best if we could, if somebody could pull us up to Google Street View on the property. The house is not, unfortunately, I don't have a good photo on these plans, but the house is not seen from the street. It's behind gates and a hedge. Thank you for doing that. We are the scope of work is not, we're not adding to the house. We're taking away about 70 square feet to make a rear entry at the back of the house. This residence is right there in the corner of San Ysidro Road and San Ysidro Lane. So it's, you know, quietly tucked back. I don't know if you can go to the street view and look at the gate if that's possible, but otherwise, yeah, that would be perfect right there. Yeah, down. So as you can see, it's screened on that corner. So if we'll go to the second sheet on the plans out of here and back to our drawings. So this is the neighborhood gates and residences. And then the next that's sheet 3, I'm sorry. Next sheet is our finishes. There's an existing composition shingle roof on the building. We're planning to change that to a darker gray finish. The existing residence mimics very much like, I think probably by the same architect or at least stylistically emulated to the pharmacy at the corner of San Ysidro and East Valley. The proposal is to change the outside of the building to a softer off-white, softer white of Swiss coffee with white trim and sort of white on white finish. And then changing the fixtures on the building to dark sky compliant bronze fixtures. There's existing stone on the wainscot of the building. You'll go to sheet 10. Take you through the general site plan here. As a result of this floor plan change, window change necessitated by the floor plan change, the fire department circulation, we have a requirement for fire department access. So the scope of work also involves moving the entry gates back from San Ysidro Road for 30-foot clearance from the road. And so at the left side of this site plan, you'll see we're removing 3 trees, which Derek will talk about later, so that we can move the entry gates further into the residence or the site. Down below, there's an existing 2-car garage. Under a separate application, that 2-car garage will be converted to an ADU. So we did take the time to adjust the FAR worksheet to represent what this looks like in the end, and it ends up being 99% FAR. So just to kind of get that out of the way. The next sheet on plan sheet 12, sorry. I think you're getting ahead of me, A1.1.
Should there be a sheet in between there?
All right, let's try, are we missing a sheet? Yeah, apparently we're missing a page. So Anyway, we can pick that up in our next review. Let's move to, A211. This is our overall floor plan. And I don't want to bore you with all the interior details, but what I do want to mention is in the center of the house, we have a kitchen, a dining room, a family room that opens up to this deck in the rear. There's currently it's a wood deck, and there is an oak tree in the middle of that wood deck. And to the left of that deck is currently hardscape. And in our site plan, we're going to be removing the hardscape and putting in landscape. And Derek will go over that with you a little bit later, right in that area where the pointer is right now. That's all hardscape. And so there's no softening of the residence on the interior courtyard of the development. But I want to point out that this deck is going to be demolished and replaced. And our landscape plan does address this area. And so our landscape plan addresses two areas, the entry gate and this interior courtyard area. And the rest of the residents we're not making any significant changes to. So with regard to the exterior elevations, sheet 17 or A2. Sorry. A20, A311. So these are the existing east elevation is elevation 1, and then below is our proposed east elevation. And as you'll see, mainly what we're doing is changing the windows. The existing windows they're dual glazed windows that have failed, and so we're replacing where we can like for like openings with a slightly different fenestration. We have a lot of cut lights in the upper elevations, and we're reducing that in the lower elevations. But go ahead and you'll take us to the next page, A312. This is the north elevation of the residence, and again, you'll see the window changes. And in the center of the drawings under the proposed north elevation, we're removing one of the garage doors to make way for a secondary entrance to a mud porch inside the residence. And that sets back, so that's why we're reducing the square footage of the residence by 70 square feet. We're creating a covered porch in that area, so some negative space is created where that man door is. And then we're changing the windows along the north elevation. In the next sheet, westerly elevation. I'm sorry, this is the south elevation. This is the elevation towards the courtyard that I was discussing earlier. The rear of the house has this current deck area, and then on the left-hand side, there's another hardscape exit from the house. We're going to remove that and create a landscape area to soften the courtyard. And then the next sheet, which is the west elevation, this shows the existing entry door. And you'll notice simply the window changes along this west elevation. And the removal of a fireplace in the west elevation, the southerly portion, there's a large stone fireplace on the chimney on the rooftop that's coming off. I think if we go back quickly to A0.1 or the second sheet. This gives us our different elevations around the residence. So the majority of the project is essentially maintaining the board and bat on the building, just window and door changes to work with the floor plan, and then some color changes, changing the house from this red to a warm white, And then going from a red roof tile, composition tile to a dimensional composition tile in a gray finish color. And with that, I'll kick it over to Derek to discuss the landscape.
Hello. I lost my plan page. Anyway, I'll just wing it. So as Gerald indicated, this is just the mediation for some of the paving and the fire department requirement at the gate. As you mentioned, there were 3 trees, a palm, a cypress, and an olive that are being removed at the gate, and we're replacing 1 olive tree for the olive that is being taken out. And then as you approach the house, there's new planting along the entry walk, and then you turn the corner towards that deck area that Daryl was showing you, and it's all new native planting. We have a variety of species, various heights, sort of hiding the understory of the deck and then cascading down to be a smaller material as it approaches the walkways. That's about it.
You guys done?
Yep.
Yes.
Questions, Dave? Rob, questions?
Derek, so I'm not catching the site. What native planting is the whole site surrounds native, or why all native?
That was the request from the owner. The site is not all natives, but he wanted this portion to be.
Okay, and then you're comfortable with some of the longevity issues of not using some ornamental planting?
Well, I picked native plants, Rob, that I'm pretty comfortable have a longish life as far as natives go, and that we won't be replacing all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, questions?
Do you have a drawing of your gate yet, or is that to come?
It's on the missing sheet A 1.1, so.
Oh, it's on the missing sheet.
Is it,
Okay.
do they have it now?
Okay. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Yeah,
Stacy?
we were told it was uploaded, but it may or may not be available.
Stacy, questions?
No questions.
And I have no questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 1690, Stan Ysidro, please?
No requests.
Okay. Obviously a fairly small project. Dave, comments, and where should it go next? We're on for concept today. Dave?
Yeah, I think it's a very nice house, and all that they're proposing only is making it better. So I can support the project and would see it coming back for preliminary final on consent.
Okay, Rob?
I agree. In fact, I really like the paint color changes in your 3D imagery. I think it's really comes off really well. As far as the missing gates, I've seen on some projects and about seeing some of the gate that are proposed are really canned and oversimplified. So I guess I encourage simplicity is nice, but to have some, the appropriate detail and ornamentation, something than just being completely stripped down. But other than that, I think you guys have done a really nice job.
Stacy, comments, please? Bill, excuse me, Bill, comments.
Yeah, I agree with Dave. I can support this. I think what you're doing looks great, and I'd say come back for preliminary final on consent.
Stacy, please.
I agree with the rest of the board. It's a great project. I have no qualms about it whatsoever.
And I agree. So, okay, so because of quorum, we're going to do a little quick pickup. Item C1, 945 Mariposa Lane, on for final approval. We recommend final approval, and to that end, I'd like to make a motion for that as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All abstentions and
I abstain.
Dave?
Yes.
2 abstentions. Item C5,
Five.
1787 Fernald Point Lane. It's on for preliminary final. I did it before, but I'm going to do it again. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C5, 1787 Fernald Point Lane, please?
No requests.
I'd like to move for preliminary final as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those abstentions or opposed?
I abstain.
And,
Just Dave.
and Dave abstains. Okay. Now, again, quorum issues. We're going to go to item 8 and take that. And then we'll get more regular stuff. Okay, so 1085 Alston Road, please. We are on for final. And I understand that there were some photographs. Oh, okay, so yes, let me read this. So on November 21st, the director made the required findings for approval of the project and approved the parking modification. So for those of you that may not have seen the project earlier, this is on Alston. I don't know if it was this owner or the previous owner, but there was a conversion of the garage, which was not done with the benefit of permit, as they say. And this design is to provide the necessary parking. We can see the site plan. And that's basically the extent, correct? Okay.
That's correct, John.
So if you have anything else you'd like to add, I don't think either Rob or Stacy saw this before.
Yes, just simply, you pretty much stated what the path that it took to get to this point. It's a structure that was converted prior to the current owner that owns the property. She was in it quite some time before this was flagged as required, the parking. And so we had the parking all the time, and it's just identifying the parking and where we show those 3 rectangular spaces. But the key thing is there are some photographs. Dave, were those photographs? It just to show first off from those 4 photographs and on the second tier there, it's well sunken into the property. It's you could see in the photograph. I'm sorry, I wish I had it numbered, but there's one where you see the driveway going up towards the street. There's a gate there as well, but it's very densely not populated, vegetated. And if we can go to A 1.1 as well, we try to show, the next sheet as well. It shows the, like so. This identifies the street level to the level where the parking is. But that's basically it. Is the parking spaces have always been there, but we're just trying to get that permitted for what was already constructed.
That it?
That's it.
Questions, Rob?
I'm still processing, so I'll pass for the moment.
Dave, did you see this before? Yeah, let's start with you then. Stacy? Questions?
I think it's pretty straightforward. No questions.
Rob?
And that,
Okay, and I have nothing. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 8, 1085 Alston Road, please?
No requests.
Comments? We are on for final today. Dave, comments?
Support the project for final approval as submitted.
Stacy,
I can support it.
Rob,
ditto.
and I too. So how many, who wants to make a motion for final, please?
I can make a motion for final approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, now we are back on the agenda and we should be able to stay on it from now on. Item number 2, on for concept 756 Hot Springs Road, please. Please go ahead. And do you know how to turn on the mic? That's it.
Okay, great. My name is Chad Cardy, and I am the new owner of this property. I purchased it from the daughter of the original owner and the builder. He built it in 1978, and we thought he did a pretty nice job structurally, and really wanted to utilize as much of that square footage as possible, but also make it so that it would be livable for my family of 6, have enough bedrooms and living space, and room to stretch out. So just a brief introduction there.
Hello, I'm Diana Kelly. I'm the designer of the project along with the owners. And the existing building, if we could go to A 1.0, please, the existing site plan. Just want to show the quick layout and go through this. All right. So this is the existing house, and there in the northeast corner is a 4-car garage attached. And if we go back a page to the photos, we could look at that. You can get a general idea of what the house looks like now. It was built in 1978, and these are the original materials, so they're looking very damaged and neglected. The whole house needs a renovation. And we want to utilize the existing structure, though, and the square footage as much as possible. So our additions are to the left and right of that protrusion in the middle there, jutting out and rounding off. And then we just want to take off that rounded part too. And the additions then just make more of a rectangle. So if we could go to the new site plan A 1.1, I'd like to just read this so I don't miss any points in my design development. We talked about the 4-car garage. All right. The challenge is to fully renovate the existing while making it larger to accommodate a larger family. It's 3 bedrooms. He needs 5 bedrooms. The design solutions were explored and the following steps were taken. First, 4-car garage gets removed and those become the kids' bedroom wing where it was in the northeast corner. And then a new garage, a 3-car garage, is added that will be similar in style to the main house. So that space becomes habitable space, more square footage there. Okay, and then the existing front entryway is currently on the north side, and we would like to move it to the east side facing the street and to also enlarge the driveway to be more of a wraparound with entrance and exit, which would be far better for a more elegant pass-through and also for fire equipment. And let's see. The new area of more communal spaces is added to the south of the existing house, which would be the family room, kitchen, dining, and living room. That's where the new building would happen. And then the foundations to keep it at all the same level underneath there could be utilized for more living space for all the kids, for multi-purpose rooms. So if we can go to the next, off the site plan, if we go to floor plan, next sheet would be the existing plan here. That's the existing basement, which just utilizes that little part in the middle there. It's a partial and a whole basement. It's pretty much just like a lounge from the 70s. So we want to add forward of that, to the left and the right of that protrusion. So if you go to the next plan, okay, that's the top floor. It has a redwood balcony built all around it. It's very decrepit and scary. So all of that part would be taken off, that patio deck. And the next is the new floor plan, a 2.11, I believe. Well, okay, sorry. Yes, this is better. Stay at the basement, please. So because of doing the addition upstairs, this creates these spaces that we'd like to utilize to make better play area, ballet room, rec room, everything for his children. And then underneath the new balcony attached upstairs, we could create some covered loggias left and right that would be right walking out to the new pool deck and pool right there as well. Okay, next plan shows the main floor. So we went to a more symmetrical and axial kind of layout. All the bedrooms are up to the north and the more communal rooms are down to the south, and then walk out onto the balcony and then go down the split stairs down to the pool. And the nice new entrance is where the tower portion is, very dramatic. And then you come into the formal living room and you can look straight down that visual right through all the way to the other west side of the house. So we want more drama in the house and just more elegance. If we could go to the elevations, okay, this would be the new proposed garage, but let's look at the main house first, please. So there's roof plan. Okay, so the existing plan has, we think, pine T111 siding on it, not redwood. It looks like redwood, and then black asphalt, and all that's very decrepit, and everything has to go. It's just damaged. And so let me read on here. Let's see. The proposed design is that of a more modernist villa in the style of a Mexican or Spanish hacienda. We propose a massing of white stucco flat-roofed volumes with continuous cornice to unify and add detail to the structure. So the doors and the windows are large and expansive to capture the views of the surrounding landscape all around the house. The windows and doors will also have stucco surrounds for more detail to frame them and to add more recess to each unit within the walls. This style is especially inspiring to me, and I shared this with the owners of Luda Maria Riggs on her third house for Wright Ludington called October Hill, which she designed and built, well, had built in 1973. So I have a photo of that too, which I didn't send to David beforehand, but it's from the Bible here and of that house. If you could scan it or show them or give it to them, or if you want the book to look at it. But it was much in the similar kind of style.
Yeah, just.
So the owners desire a house that has clean lines, elegant layout and materials, and a more timeless design that would be efficient to build and to maintain. And Chad will be the builder of his own house. And one that is comfortable and joyful for their family. That is all.
Is that it?
Yes.
And
We could go through these other elevations, though. So I do it existing and proposed on each sheet for each elevation.
okay. And did you do an FAR review of this?
Sheet on A 0.0. And I got your email. Planner.
So you are at 153, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so,
That includes all that basement.
yeah, that's right, as it should. Okay, so, I did an FAR study. They are the project you can see is site right in the middle of the circle. Those are the numbers. The red numbers are the larger properties, and there are a couple of them, and the black numbers are all the other ones. And then if we go down to the next sheet, please. This is the numerics of it, and then what I think is easier to look at is the next diagram down. So there's one very large project across the street. I can't remember where that second and third are, but there it is. Okay. So questions. Are we ready for questions? Bill?
Dave, could you go to the site plan real quick? So the position of your garage, and now you're cutting 2 curbs, so you're adding a new driveway. And you're leaving the existing and using that one for your new garage. And yeah, proposed, is great. And you're setting the garage in really way into the setback there, huh?
Yes.
Is planning okay with that?
Yes, and on the far left is where we have exchanged it,
The square.
and our planner has approved.
Okay.
There's a site wall between house and garage that'll be 6 feet high, plaster to match the house.
And are you digging the back of that garage into the hill there?
Yes,
So what's going on?
to stay on that existing driveway right there.
And
Currently, it curves around right through that garage and into the house.
And had you looked at any other location for that garage?
Yes. This is what the owners want.
Um,
And they took out 1 space. So it's a 3-car.
let's go to the,
4.
elevations, the new ones, exterior elevations. And what are your plate heights there in those rooms, that uppermost floor there? What are your plate heights?
So on that main floor, it's, I can't see, to
It's like
12 feet.
Is it 12?
12, yes.
Okay.
And we want higher ceilings at the south end for the family room, living room, kitchen area to be more dramatic.
And is there a reason why your parapet needs to be 3 feet tall? Is that what you show there?
Yes, mechanical and solar panels would be on the roof. I want those hidden. And there is a spiral stair to go up so they could actually be on the roof, and that's a 42-inch high guardrail.
So you're doing.
So it's not called out as a roof deck, but if they wanted to, I mean, some of the roofs, it won't be all flat. Some ceiling heights are higher at the south part and will come up taller.
You have a way to get up to the upper
Yes,
roof?
on the west elevation, I've done a
Circular stair.
spiral staircase with a lock on the top,
Could you go to that?
so his kids don't go up without them.
Okay.
So metal up on a higher ground in the back there. If you look at the next elevation, there you go.
Okay. All right. That's all. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Rob, questions, please?
What are you, well, first, let's talk about the driveway. How is the driveway supposed to be working? I'm trying to still understand the
111.
function and the grade and the topo change on that.
Existing driveway apron and driveway neck coming in stays the same, so same elevation. And so just continuing it going downhill to the south to get to the new front door, and then add a little parking area there for his guest house that's down in the bottom corner, and then loop around to that new driveway apron near that guest parking area and come out. It's all a private road.
Okay, and then do we have, not seeing kind of walkways and pathways that kind of weave the buildings and hardscape and how you move around the site together. I'm not seeing walkways.
I do
Related that.
did a hardscape right to the south of the garage to get in there. And then that's a site wall between house and garage, but there's a back door there. I'm gonna put a gate in that wall for the fire hose pull around as well to meet that requirement. And then just nice natural landscaped pathways from the guest parking to the guest house. And then probably a nice stepping stone natural pathway over to the pool deck. And that's all we would need, with the front door being the main access into the house.
And do you need, and the pool's new?
The pool, say again?
The pool is new, right?
It is brand new.
Okay, and then so do you have are you showing the fencing, the safety fencing, or how are you dealing with that issue?
With a safety cover on the pool and an alarm to that.
Okay.
And
what, I thought there was two things you have to check as far as a pool. What are the,
Whole property will have a fence.
okay,
There exists ones at the north and to the west. And there's a nice stone wall along the front on the east side, and then it's a crummy fence to the south, right, with a little bit of rock. Tell him.
and there's no proposed preliminary landscape plan at this point?
Not yet, but we'll come back with that.
Okay.
There are beautiful oaks along the entire property all around, so we have to protect those, but we're not taking any out.
And that's where
We'll
those oak
work-
trees are not, doesn't look like they're being shown on the,
Yeah, we'll show that better.
Okay.
And he's thinking of a gate. Got to work at that out, because if it's 30 feet in, that really kind of encroaches a lot on everything. So we have to work that out as well.
so,
Driveway gates
and the reason for having the driveway gates?
were for security and privacy.
Okay.
And pool. Dave, please, questions?
Yeah, how visible is the house to the neighbors in the community?
If we could go to the photo sheet, these were from the real estate agent, and they're aerials there of there we go, the top line there. There are many houses all around. As you see in that middle photo, there's just beautiful trees. I mean, this is a gorgeous area right there around Hot Springs Road and East Mountain Drive, Picacho. So there's mega mansions to the right and lots of oak trees all around. Neighbors to the north. Chad is friendly with those people. You want to say anything about all the neighbors?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we love the property was because of the huge oaks that are around it. Obviously, you can't just put those in, and they created a ton of privacy. So yeah, I think, approaching the house from the south, you can't really see it because the oaks on the east side, the oaks conceal it as well. Yeah, and just a lot of families right around that area that we're friends with.
Also, that road that leads up to the driveway entrance, there's just the one property to the north that uses that road, other than Chad's property.
So
And
you're saying that it's not visible from the street?
no,
From,
you go down Tejas Road, quarter mile into Tejas and the private road, and then it's pretty much a driveway. The whole road feels like a driveway, or the back end to that mansion, that in the horse area to the right of our parcel.
and the guest parking that you have appears to be in the front yard setback, that's not required parking?
No,
So the planner signed off on that?
we're getting our completeness letter coming to us. He said maybe by tomorrow, probably next week.
Thanks.
So we'll address all those items.
Stacy, questions, please?
Yeah, can we look at the house plans again?
First floor,
Yeah.
A 2.11.
I'm seeing a lot of interior rooms that have no windows and no light. Are there ceilings? I mean, like, skylights? Bringing light into those rooms, air, those kinds of things on the interior at all? Lots of bathrooms, closets, other spaces?
The main ones in the middle or dining room,
Mhm.
right near the front entry. I tried for a skylight in the entry and maybe all the rooms, but they don't want that. But beautiful interiors in there. And then the other one, the middle dining area is the more informal dining.
Mhm.
And then on the left would be a library bar, so tall bookcases and more of a bar feeling. It's going to be mechanically aired properly, and everything. I mean, there's huge windows at the front entry, a transom over the front door, and no, I don't have any other light in those other than mechanical lighting,
Just all
electrical lighting.
electrical lighting
Yep.
within the whole interior of the house?
Yes.
We look at the elevation of the back too, like if you were at the pool, please.
The pool, south. Next one.
Yep.
There you go.
So that's a walkout basement, correct, coming out with the staircase sort of situated in the middle? Did you look at other alternatives on the staircase coming down? And other railing options, possibly more in the style of like Luther Riggs?
Yes, more of plaster pilasters and railing between them.
Correct.
You know, or I tried glass, but they don't want that. They just thought the cable would be more invisible. It's looking right through the stainless steel. And they're used to that on another property, I guess. And on metal posts. And we did try other stairs, but this is nice and symmetrical upon the pool deck and centered like that.
Okay, and do you think you need such an elaborate staircase for the roof deck if it's not being used as, I mean, if it's just all mechanical equipment? Were there other options that you looked at that were maybe less?
Yes, an internal pull down and a hatch.
Exactly.
Off also, yes, that's an idea. And also from the front, I had a beautiful interior stair
Okay,
going up, which would have been amazing, but that's not happening.
okay,
So this was a solution.
okay. All right, thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
Have you had a chance to read the architectural guidelines for Montecito, please?
I have before, yes.
There are at least two areas that I was curious about. One, we specifically ask that there be one driveway, which you now have, and you're increasing that to two driveways, curb cuts. And I'm wondering why you think that that's appropriate, considering that the guidelines specifically address that to be only one, please.
Just felt like it was a more elegant approach to the front door to be able to park along there too and go around the oaks that are nestled in that planter and not hurt them and come out to the road that way. There's no curb. It's pretty natural and planters all around. It's very natural out there. That was just to make it more accessible to the front door.
And there's a fairly decent amount of the guidelines that actually emanated out of the general plan review process back in the early 90s about the size of houses on properties in order to maintain the semi-rural character and not have very large houses on comparatively large houses on comparatively small lots. And we do that in an FAR. You have, can we go to the FAR, please? The study that I did. Yeah, my study. Okay, so you have a house, the orange, that's about 99 was the calculation I did based on the numbers you had in your list. And you're going up to 153. There's a couple of others that are in the neighborhood, but the guidelines specifically say 100%, and this board through correctly or incorrectly is saying 110. That's that red line going across there. Unless there's a lot of evidence that the neighborhood as a whole is larger than the 100% or 110. And there are areas, we had one today down by the water. Edge Cliff is, all of those properties are 140, 160, 180. They're very large properties. But I don't see that evidence here. Why do you think that your house is compatible being that large in comparison to the neighborhood that we have, please? Why do you think that that's compatible as the guidelines ask you to make it, please?
I did feel like that neighborhood had a lot of huge homes there.
Well, there's,
And from utilizing what was a garage into a bedroom, that was the smart choice to make it more usable for a family. And then not just calling the foundation crawl space and be able to utilize what you'd have to build anyway to be at the same floor level, just taking advantage of the basement. That's where the big number of square footage add is. So we're going for it to see and get your feedback, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 2, 756 Hot Springs Road, please?
No requests.
Okay. We are on for the first review today. We're on obviously concept comments. Bill, please.
Yeah, I think that what John is hedging toward, and I appreciate that you're saying the basement, which is existing there, utilizing that. I can see that that's value there. But you are adding square footage beyond that too. And I kind of feel like the way this feels, and it may be a site visit that I might help to visualize this whole thing. It feels like a lot of building on the lot. One of my biggest concerns is the garage and its placement and how it's very close to the street, kind of crammed up against one side of the property. I know it's a challenging site too, and maybe the site visit will help me see that better. I don't know. At this point, I kind of have my doubts about the placement of that. I'm not crazy also about the secondary curb cut and the amount of paving you have in the front yard there. You've got a lot of paving. You have oak trees. That's great. You're going to respect them. Appreciate that. But there's a lot of paving that's right off the street again. Again, if that's a private drive to one other property, then that may also make it a little easier to swallow. Then the structure itself, if we go the elevations real quick, just a few notes on that. The massing seems blocky to me a little bit. I know you've played with some of the elevations, which is great. I appreciate that. But the proportion of the height in the windows and the space between the top of the header of the window and the top of the parapet to me doesn't feel quite right. And I don't know if it's parapet being too high, maybe that, and if it's utilizing that upper as a deck, maybe it's not solid, maybe some of it's more transparent. So it doesn't feel so much like a very tall structure. Do all the rooms need to be 12 foot? Maybe some are 10, some are 12, some are 11, some are 9. So I think undulating and playing with that a little bit is also going to help. And like I said, maybe a site visit, I leave it to the other board members. Do we story poll and site visit, corner of this? It's already there. We are taller on that outside corner. So we'll wait and see what everyone else says. And that's it. Thanks.
Comments, Rob, please.
Yeah, architecturally, I do think that you need some work. I think it blocky is a term that does come to mind, but I think it lacks some warmth, and to me, doing some Spanish colonial style would be nice, where maybe you have some tiled roofs and some hip roofs, and then get some more movement. And if you're going Spanish, then I think and I'm not the architects on one of the architects on the board, but I'm seeing that having all parapet roofs, that it ends up creating kind of the blockiness, and where it ends up feeling kind of large. So, but I think that the other thing that's kind of lacking is that you have this exterior staircase, and you have the garage. And I think if you create kind of a house that has a little bit more movement and a village feel, where you start to incorporate the garage, you start to incorporate the staircase into the architecture a little better. And that's where I guess I see, like, if you use some tiled roofs and along with some parapets, that might free you up to kind of make the house feel less blocky and have a little more warmth to it. But then this is where the landscape architect in me comes in, and I think this is where getting a landscape architect now into the process would help you folks tremendously, because I think there's some site issues where that the driveway doesn't quite work for me. The pool is a little bit, there needs to be, you need to kind of weave all these pieces together. And I think a landscape architect would help you kind of be able to, by adding pathways and walls. I mean, there's the plan's not showing walls. It seems like there's enough topo change where you need some walls and you need to see the paths and where there's steps. And so I think a landscape architect would help you kind of weave some of this stuff together. And then looking at some of these other architectural solutions or pathways, I think you could move in the direction of a, far nicer project. I mean, it's a beautiful lot, as you say. And so I think that, I think there's other ways where you can really take advantage of it and move this thing where you can create a nice place for your family. And I'm completely, having a large family, that makes it tough, if like you're kind of driven to needing a larger house. So I'm definitely empathetic towards that. But I think there's ways to get there that you haven't yet kind of explored. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Dave, please.
Yeah, well, first of all, I do support you in creating the house you need for your family, and this house certainly needs to be updated and taken care of, so I appreciate that. I also, I like this image and I like this style. I think the strong concern I have is when you combine this style with a house that's going to exceed the FAR by 153%. I think when you're asking for the moon on the FAR, it's incumbent on you to minimize the impacts. But I think you're doing just the opposite. The mass, bulk, and scale, this is really significantly more than the existing house with what you're proposing. And so that's where I have a difficulty in supporting the direction you're going. I think there's some things that are driving it, in particularly the roof deck and that 42-inch parapet. I think the reason people are calling it blocky and it's kind of top heavy is because that's just out of proportion. I think if you notice, these proportions are very studied. And to get here, you really have to do some work and I think scale it down. And then because you're asking for such a higher level of FAR, you need to bring this back in because it's very impactful. I would like to see the site, and it's not clear to me how visible it is. I think you kind of said that, but if you come back, we need a lot more documentation showing that this house isn't visible from anywhere. If you're going to propose this significant amount of mass, bulk, and scale, and also the color of the house. Right now, the color is receding. If your new house is going to be white, it's going to be much more visible. So, in a nutshell, I think I'm concerned about the fact that you're really going beyond the recommended FAR, and the house itself and the style is adding further impacts. And really, you'd want to go the other direction. I want to see you get there. I really like what you want to try to do. I'm just very concerned about the impacts at this point.
Stacy, please, comments?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the intentions and the Luther Briggs styling of architecture on this, but I agree with a lot of the rest of the board that it's just so massive and bulky right now in its current rendition that it needs to be scaled down. But I also worry about the quality of the interior rooms when they don't have any form of natural light or air coming in. I think there's an opportunity, if you could consider it, maybe doing a U-shaped courtyard, something to allow more inside-outside appreciation with this house, potentially. It could lend itself to that in the layout. But then too, I worry a little bit about coming out to the stairs, and the style is completely different than the Luther Briggs, going with the steel cables. It just seems stylistically very different, that I think it needs to be consistent and succinct in order to work. And then too, I'd explore a little bit of the dimensions of the staircase, maybe widening it out or making it more impressive. It just seems like an afterthought right at this point to the grander idea. It seems a little kind of understated, kind of, for something so impressive. And then, yes, when it comes to the garage and the placement, I think you could study it too. It might work better to 90-degree angle it instead of having the garages facing towards the street, but rather to come in, it might be a more beneficial use of the space to reduce hardscape. And I think there's definitely a way to have a turnaround and come out of the same gate. You have plenty of space, and I don't think you have to cut down trees to make it work necessarily. But overall, I appreciate what you're trying to do. Thanks.
I think one of the reasons that Montecito is so special is because in the early 90s, it actually became the first area within the county of Santa Barbara to have a thing called a community plan. So the state in the mid 70s required general plans for the entire county, but then we felt as a community that we needed to maintain this area in its own unique manner. And the primary goal of that is maintain and preserve the residential, low intensity, semi-rural character of the community. And if you compare this area to Goleta or Summerlin or Brentwood or Santa Monica, there's a reason that it is what it is. And it's because we try to keep the house sizes down, the heights of houses down, the colors not too bright, things like that. It's not an accident that we have these guidelines and that we have this design review board. So I have not been on this board for quite 8 years. It'll be here fairly soon. I've never voted for a project with an FAR of over 110 unless there was a neighborhood study to prove that there's other a majority of the houses that are about the same size as what's being proposed. I don't see that here. When I did that study, I had no idea what it was going to be. Sometimes I'm surprised to the upside, sometimes I'm surprised to the downside. So, I just start in the middle and just kind of put them around. So I will not be able to vote for this project unless something important happens to the size of the structure. And just for number one. Now, when I look at the floor plan, I don't see a particularly efficient floor plan. Stacy's trying to get at it. I love Stacy, but she's not being articulate about it. There's a lot of circulation space in it. There's a lot of areas that just are not designed in a way that really maximizes the use of the square footage. And I think that whole project can get tightened way down. That's one of it. If the basement is an FAR problem, well, that'd be a fairly simple thing to get rid of. But I want to say something about construction too. 78, isn't that what you said this project was? There have been a lot of code changes since 1978, a lot, including a lot of structural stuff. And I would be very surprised if a structural engineer would permit you to use most of those foundations as they exist now. And it's getting to be a big enough remodel. I want to warn you that this may very well be a tear down and rebuild when you actually talk to a contractor and they start figuring out how this stuff works, because retrofitting is always more expensive than new construction. So it may be an opportunity if you want something this aggressive, you may, which I won't vote for, but you would then probably be better served to start over again. Now, there are cost implications, but what's called scraping it and rebuilding it oftentimes is less expensive than trying to do this and that. So it just has to do with the code, hold downs in particular, shear panels. I mean, there's just things you don't even want to know about, okay? So I would ask you to take a good hard look at this floor plan and the site plan. I thought Stacy's comments about the exterior not really being a part of the design image that you were going for. If you're going to take something like that, there's good news in that because it's so beautiful. There's bad news in it in that you must become a slave to that design image in order to pull it off. Hybrids rarely work well. That's been my experience. I've seen some to do it. I haven't seen it here yet. That doesn't mean it can't be done. I haven't seen it yet. So,
I just add one thing.
and I also believe a site visit is necessary for this. Now, the question is, do you want to go back and do a good hard rethink about this design and then come back to us before the site visit? Because site visits get expensive putting all of the story poles up. That's an expensive proposition. Or do you guys really, we love this house, we're going to do everything we can? Do you want to go and put this up here? So you need to make that decision. My recommendation is try to tighten this puppy down very far before you go to the expense of a site visit. Because it's minimum 5,000 is probably closer to 10 or 12 to get a surveyor in there, Okay, so do you have now, Rob?
Well, and to add to John's point about tearing it down and starting over kind of thing is that I think that some of the site issues that were discussed today and unveiled today, I think that would free you up in terms of being able to relocate the driveway and deal with the topography in ways that may end up saving you money. And so, that's why the notion of tearing the structure down, then trying to work with the existing structure actually may pencil out to your advantage and give you kind of a project that you're really excited about and really works well with your family. Thank you.
So do you want to take another shot at this thing before we go on? Okay, let's do that. So we'll see you at another time. Contact David when you want to get back on. It'll be in the new year, so please have a nice holiday.
Your planner, David. not me.
Yeah, not this guy.
Bill's fault.
I'm going to take personal 5-minute break. Dave, can you take over?
Oh. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, thanks.
So next project's 607 Cowles Road, item number 3. Hi. You could introduce yourselves to the board.
My name's Andrew Petrovsky with Michael Ember Architects. Michael's joining on Zoom.
Shelby Janke, SEPS, agent for the owner. We also have other members of our team here on the Zoom as well. Landscape, lighting, our historian, arborist. So we've got our full team here.
Okay, I'm going to go through the comments from the last meeting first, and then you can go ahead with your presentation. The comments from the MBAR were as follows. 1, the site visit and story polls were required, and we did that today. 2, MBAR likes the architecture. 3, MBAR expressed concerns regarding the visibility of the structure and the parking area. 4, restudy site layout, access, circulation, and parking area, presentation to the street. 5, study options to reduce grading and balance cut and fill on site. 6, provide 3D views and renderings for clarity. 7, reconsider hedge species. 8, consider adding fewer larger sized replacement oaks. 9, recalculate WELO calculations. And 10, refine and detail irrigation plans. So if you could address those comments with your presentation, that'd be great.
I'll just do a super quick intro. I want to hit on a couple things quickly. Thank you all for your time this morning, taking a site visit to view the property and the story polls. We're happy to show you how we've addressed the comments from the last meeting. And just a couple of things to note, the grading is now balanced on site, and that's reflected in the civil plans. And The project description does note removal of 3 oak trees, and I wanted to note that there will actually be 1 additional oak tree that will be removed, and we have had an addendum to our arborist report prepared, and we have copies of that today. So that is just one update that you'll see, as well as one of the broken up accessory structure adjacent to the tennis court has been incorporated into the main house. So that's just another change that you'll see on the plan. And I'll be available for questions. We're working with our planner right now to respond to her feedback from her initial feedback response. We're looking forward to your comments today, and we'll incorporate those into our resubmittal with our planner. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Michael, who should be on Zoom and wanted to make a few comments.
Yes, can we go to, thank you. Can we go to R1.0D? So I just wanted to briefly, go over conceptually, what we're doing here. We've got some models now that show the existing open space, the trees and the structures that we are recommending. You can see at the bottom left-hand corner, the reservoir, the original reservoir from the Coles property. We are still trying to maintain that relationship of structures to open space that were so important to the original property. When I think you all know that, this project has gone through several iterations, and we had inherited a scheme that tried to do the same thing, keeping the open space in the center that you see there. However, the resulting solution was somewhat of a necklace of 4 structures within the tree area you see on the upper right. We didn't feel that was appropriate. We didn't feel that the trees would appreciate such a move, that it would be devastating to a lot of the trees in there. So what we've attempted to do was shift a lot of the area into one of the singular footprints of one of those structures and stack it so that we had freed up the wooded area for the most part. And then we created this land bridge that went across to the other portion of the house that had an important programmatic relationship to one side, to the tennis court, and then the other side to the open space that was an important play area for children. And then there's an ADU that's obviously not shown on this that also maintains that open space. I'll let Andrew Petrowski from my team present the rest of it.
Thanks, Michael. David, if you could go to page 17, please, the site plan. All right. I will take us through the response to the previous comments and how we've addressed them. Starting with the concerns about circulation, parking, access, visibility, all of that stuff. The biggest change that we made, we took your comments to heart about this notion of guests coming to the property and not having a clear way to the front door. You'll see in the north property line, as we talked about this morning, we have that parking space that utilizes a part of where the existing driveway is. And that is our guest parking area that we've provided. There's also a landscape path that meanders through the oaks to the front door, which is on the northeast side of that northern wing of the house. The other big change you'll notice from the last time around, we have altered our energy storage system. When we first started this project, we had a 200 kilowatt generator that was reduced to a 60 kilowatt generator. Now the generator is gone, which frees up a good chunk of area on the site. And we've replaced it with energy saving storage systems located just to the west of the viewing trellis by the tennis court. Study options to reduce grading and balance cut and fill on site. We have balanced the cut and fill on site And you can see in some of the civil sheets, if we need to reference them, how we did that. We basically took a pretty uniform fill distribution approach to spreading about a foot of fill over the southern part of the site, south of that central oak tree. Provide 3D views and renderings for clarity. We just reviewed those. Happy to go back to any of them if you need to reference them. I'll touch on the landscape responses quickly, and then we have Cheryl Fields with us who can elaborate if needed. Reconsider hedge species, consider Laurus nobilis. We do now have bay laurel or Laurus nobilis called out in the landscape plan as a hedge species on page 1 of the landscape plan. When it comes to larger boxes for the mitigation oaks, we now have 48-inch oak boxes called out. We have 9 of them specified on the landscape plan, even though at the current time with our current tree protection plan and arborist report, we are required to do 4. There's also revised irrigation plans that you'll find later in this landscape set and irrigation details along with it. So again, thank you for the time this morning. We have our whole team at the disposal, especially you might want to hear from Bill Spiewak, who's been working hand in hand with us on the taking care of the trees at the site. So thanks for the consideration.
You're done.
Yes.
AC, let's get started with you, please.
Is Bill Spivak online right now? He is. Bill, can you talk to us more about how the oak trees are going to be preserved with the building being built right in the center of a grove on a hillside? What do you think? How is that going to work?
Bill, we can't hear you.
Can't hear
Can
you.
you unmute yourself,
Sorry,
maybe?
all right, can you, I'm on, I'm
Oh.
out of town and I'm on my.
Now we can hear you.
Sounds good,
Okay.
thank you.
Do you
please.
have a copy of my October report that you could bring up with the site, with my site plan?
Oh, he's passing that out right now. Okay. We are now looking at it.
Oh, that's not really it. I have it. I don't know how to share.
Oh, we all have a copy of it. We each have a
Pass
copy
out
now.
a physical copy, Bill.
Yeah, he gave us physical copies just now.
Okay, then I will look at, now you're looking at October 22 report, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so I've been working with Andrew on this for quite a while now, and it changes from time to time. And they've been very conscientious about minimizing impacts to trees and have moved things around. I've been on that site many times already with him. The goal was to keep the encroachments to 20% or less of the critical root zones. And if you look at the critical root zones and my site plan, you'll see that we have been pretty much able to do that. So there will be encroachment into many trees. I think the damage that can occur on this site is more related to the peripheral activities, the actual contractors working on site, that we'd have to be really careful about fencing and keeping people out of those protection areas. But there is quite a bit of room to work if you approach the project from some of these open areas. For instance, around the back of the house, you could come along the side where the existing driveway is, and I believe that garage is going to be, or going around the garage, coming around there to the other end once that house is demolished. And then there's the entrance from the north side where the road is. You can see it's a pretty wide area there. You can see the dashed lines are all the protection fencing, and we've pretty much separated the structure from all the trees, except for those immediately there where you're seeing encroachment. The design is going to be with piles to avoid grading along the side. There will be some basements. Andrew is checking on the engineering of that, maybe to use gunite. I don't know how else they would do it, but the goal was to not go beyond those limits that that we have there. Now, in most of these construction sites that I've worked on, and with several of you on this board, we have had greater encroachments into critical root zones of oak trees and been easily able to protect them, as many of you will remember, I hope. And with this one, we are kind of in the same situation. We're not encroaching greater than 20% into the most of the critical root zones of the trees, except for 3, actually 4, because 27 was a miscalculation. So I think that they have done an amazing job of trying to make this happen. And then, of course, so the way it looks, the way it sits, I don't see any impacts, significant impacts beyond those 4 trees. Once construction starts, it will be probably a challenge to monitor a lot of the contractors. But I think with chain link fence and monitoring, we can do a very good job at keeping people out of those areas beyond what we show in this, what I show in this plan. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna just, so in your plan, I'm not seeing like a plan in terms of where the fencing is going. Do we have, oh, I see it now. Are we keeping it to like a 5-foot offset from the walls of the building in order to say all construction activity has to happen within this concentrated zone? Is that part of this report too?
That
Like
is
doing
what we're attempting to do, is to keep everything within the dashed lines.
Okay.
Of course, you know, I think as well as I do, that in construction sites, it's a challenge because a lot of times they start working and go, oh, we need to do this or we need to do that. Or maybe there'll be a big boulder, you know, that goes a little further outside of the protection zone or into the protection zone that may be deviate from what we need to do. But I think with monitoring those situations on site, we can do what's needed to keep those trees thriving. And I really think that it's a very limited encroachment. When I've looked at all these trees out there multiple times, I think it's really that we're not going to have a problem. I do have a concern with that one palm tree there above tree number 23, but that will be, I think that will have to be ground out and monitored closely so we don't hit 23. But a lot of those little trees are little around there, like 23 and those by the bridge. I think those are like 9-inch DBH. I have to go look. 23 9-inch DBH. You know, so there's some little guys in there, and I hope that we can protect those. I feel very confident that the bigger trees are easily protectable. I don't think we're going to have a problem with the bigger trees. It may be just those couple little small ones around there that may be challenging. You've got that bridge that goes over the top, but we talked about that at great lengths to avoid encroaching into those root zones. And I'm hoping that we can, like you look at tree number 19 right along the edge of the bridge there, but there isn't any soil disturbance there. So I think we're good with that. So, and the same with 20 and 18. So I think we have a pretty good thing going here. And anyway, does that answer your question?
It does, Bill. Thank you. And
Okay.
are you, so back to the architects, are you running pilings for the bridge, or are you spanning it with beams from
Yeah, we're
building to
doing-
building?
Yes, we're doing minimal center pilings within the center of the bridge to minimize the structure, minimize the penetration into the bearing soil.
Okay, that answers all my questions.
Dave, questions, please?
I don't have any questions at this point.
Rob, questions, please?
Just coming up, one more question for Bill on tree 19. How that tree is so close to that bridge, it looks like, and not knowing how big it is, that some of the branches I mean, have you looked at the branch pattern to see if it conflicts with the bridge? And if it isn't conflicting now, it seems like at one point those two are not, the bridge and that 19 are not compatible. So,
The honest answer is I didn't measure the elevations of the crown. It is extremely close, and that was one of the concerns of mine at the time of when I saw the bridge, but I didn't really get back there to look at the elevations. Maybe Andrew has some perspective on that if he recalls. But and it is possible that maybe low limbs would need to be removed, but this isn't the first situation where you take off low limbs on trees. And I mean, taking low limbs off doesn't mean you have to take a tree out. As far as the distance from the actual bridge, well, trees grow and that could happen over the course of time, but I can't remember let's see, 19 is the diameter of that tree is
11, I believe.
11 inches. You know, that's a pretty small young tree. It's quite possible the crown is into the bridge, but you know, it's hard to see on these small plans what the actual distance is and the dots that I use.
How tall is the bridge? How is the bridge over off the ground from the tree?
Andrew,
how far off the ground is the bridge?
You go to the last sheet in our architectural set, which I don't have. Yeah, there you go. You zoom in to the section on the right there.
So so if anything, there'd be some significant branches that may already be bumping into that bridge or will be in the way when you do construction. Anyways, that's minor. There's enough oak trees, you know, so if that needs to be removed, it's, you know, it is what it is as far as that goes. I'm trying to understand on the the path, which maybe this is to the landscape architect or landscape designer on the project, over by the tennis court, and then the building right there, there's kind of this, a bunch of pathways that kind of squiggle around, and it looks really busy in kind of plan view. Is there another way to basically clean up and simplify and, I mean, that whole network of pathways, so it's just reads much more simple than it is now. And it may be that, you know, there's a lot of doors that you're trying to access, and it may be that some of those doors need to become windows or something of that nature.
Once we get to the landscape plan. Hi, Cheryl Fields from Schrader Design. Can we go to the overall? It should be up one, yeah. Once it loads.
So it's just to the right of it's to the right of the tennis court. Yeah, right of the residence right there, and that whole kind of network of pathways that really reads not really clean. And
So this is a gravel path through a meadow, really, is what this will be. And yes, we are trying to make sure we have egress from all the doors, as well as when guests are over, and they may not go directly through the house, but they're going through tennis court to the sitting lounge underneath the giant oak in the center of the meadow, atop center of the meadow. We've got that one pathway so that you could, you know, traverse on the site on one of the paths. Could we simplify it? Yeah, we could.
okay, that's really what I'm after, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, and then and then in terms of the entrance to the house, so you come and you have the one parking space right there for this house. As far as a guest parking, is that enough, first of all?
That's one parking space on the north side of the property, and then we have two designated outside of the setback along the southwest.
Is that I'm sorry, is that the front door? Is that the main front door to the house right there? where the one parking space is and then by the
Yes.
garage? Okay, and then, and did you look at kind of, or consider maybe selectively removing one of the oak trees and maybe creating a little more hierarchy in terms of, the arrival to the house where it seems like it's competing with the walkway to the garage? Have you studied that or looked at that, or can you look at that, I guess would be?
Can we zoom into that area, please?
It's going up on the page.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer to that is of course we can. We're trying to minimize the paved area and make it as natural as possible, but we can certainly take a look at that.
And then so the garage paving is different from the guest parking. What is one permeable pavers and the other one asphalt or gravel, or what is that? Concrete?
For the house, garage one, it's cobble. And we're considering, and it's permeable. The guest parking, we're considering options because of the slope. We didn't want to have permeable paving on the slope, so we're looking at different options at the moment.
Okay, and then my last question is, so there's an ADU that's being part of this project.
You be careful with that.
So can we show that in the footprint of that? Because it's kind of a ghosted in there.
You can't request it.
Okay. It's just kind of pathways to nowhere right now. So that's where, okay, thank you very much.
Bill, questions, please.
Yeah, is the garage completely subterranean? Is it retaining up 8 feet or something like that?
There's a diagram on the basement floor plan sheet, which is
The architecture.
Or maybe a section through
a
the
1.0.
building. That building would be.
There's a diagrammatic section on that sheet that helps.
Notice the
illustrate it.
3D views didn't show that angle from the driveway.
We're going to
looking
go
up
down
Down a few.
a few sheets.
Story.
More.
And the way
Gotta
that
get past civil.
space is laid out is,
Past the civil sheets. Further into the set.
3.1 shows it well.
4.1,
3.1.
3.1.
So
Keep going down. 3.1.
Michael, this is what we were trying to show, this diagrammatic section in the middle of the page, sort of. You can see how the slope, the existing grade
Yeah.
goes along with it.
So that item to the diagram 2 there kind of shows that.
Mhm.
And this little outbuilding connected with the bridge, that's kind of sleeping quarters. Is that sort of how that works? And then the main building has living and kitchen and dining, and is that?
Northern half is sleeping quarters, southern
Generally?
half is
Okay.
mainly the gathering spaces for the
And
most
was
part.
there any thought to having a sleeping quarter section portion on the main building, the big portion that's got living and dining and all that? Was there ever any thought about, reducing height and taking some elements and placing it? Is there a problem with doing that? I guess maybe would be a better question.
Yeah, we really didn't want to increase the footprint of, the bar between the tennis court and the open pasture, the open space.
Well,
So
I'm not asking that. I'm asking, what about the stacking of some of the living space over the main house, lower, upper level? We did have a 2-story element to it instead of a 1-story element. Was there any reason why you couldn't do that?
I want the view.
Of the mountains? Okay.
Up to this point, it hasn't been considered. I think it's something that we can have a dialogue about, but
yeah, we're trying to keep the massing as minimal as possible. So we were trying to work into the slope on that north side and keep things within the tree canopy.
In the main building, are those all open volume ceilings too?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
We have had at least one project here where I felt that the tail was wagging the dog. That was 101 with landscaping and retaining walls. I'm beginning to wonder whether or not the tail is wagging the dog on this too. Because that garage, I think, is coming off that private drive. I know they're all private, but that road heading off to the east seems to me, from my point of view, to be the problem. And if there was a way to take that parking and relocate it somewhere else and retain the slope that's there already, then the building would not be a three-story element, and it would, I think, appear to be set farther back because of any landscaping you could get right in front of it, that it would therefore not be a problem. The question then is, if I am right in that analysis, from an aesthetic standpoint of view, how do you get the primary issue going? How do you get that garage? And so the question coming out of that is, have you considered a lot line adjustment so that you drive in from the other parcel into this one and have a parking space back there, and then leave all of this area heavily wooded with a little perch up there to get the mountain view that you want? So the question is, have you considered that?
Well, I think that's
Please.
definitely an interesting proposition. I'll let my team speak to, yeah, the probability of doing that.
Okay.
We've considered it more from a development allowance perspective, which hasn't really led anywhere. And in our conversations with the fire department over the last 3 years, the access has kind of dictated a lot of these moves, but I don't see why we couldn't reconsider some studies of the lot lines based off of this train of thought.
Yeah, I think, okay. And I think that is all I have in terms of questions. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 3, 607 Coles Road?
No requests.
Okay. We are on for concept today. Stacy, please.
I think some of the biggest concerns we had was the impact on the oak trees on this particular site. And I think you did a really good job bringing Bill Spiewak in to address that. And having seen it as well and seeing the layout with the existing oak trees and the size of the ones for which this, particular building is surrounded by, I do think that their survivability is really good. I also think I agree with Bill that it's all about the impacts of the construction workers and how you treat it during that period of time. I can also support it too, because it's an attractive garage from the road on the private road as you come in. And I feel like it's not impacting any of the neighbors necessarily, or detracting away from the rest of the neighborhood to have the garage tucked down below as you come in. Yes, it makes it kind of a taller structure, but I think it's so wooded and surrounded on the top 2 stories that it's really going to diminish the effect of the building upon entry. So I could actually support that and its location, as well as the secondary house over the tennis courts too. I think that's really well positioned, and having seen that oak tree today and knowing its future is very limited, I'm okay with that as well. So I'm generally in support for preliminary.
Dave, questions, please. Oh, comments, I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, thank you for story pointing the project and doing the residence too. That was super helpful. So I think number one, you're 83% of the FAR. So to my mind, that allows you a little more flexibility to ask more in other areas. So I like the architecture. I like the design. I support you trying to achieve the mountain views for your client. And I'm appreciative that you've balanced the grading when that was one of my strongest concerns, and sounds like that's working. I like the relocation of the generator. I like that you're preserving a lot of oaks in the process of impacting some here, and many of the larger ones that are really specimens, so that's a plus. I really like the way the main residence fits in the site and is secluded within the site. I think, again, what we're more focused on is this folly structure on the east end. It was very helpful to have Bill talk, and he's right. He's helped me with my own projects that have impacts like this. I think the key is being able to do gunite walls and not do the grading where it has to fall back. And that's a lot more difficult and expensive. So I would want to make sure you're committed to doing that, because if you grade that basement and do it the standard way where the grade falls back, you're going to impact those trees. But I think I think Bill's critical to your project, not only through this process, but through construction, to make sure you do what you say you're going to do and can organize the construction and make sure that you don't lose the trees. So with that in mind, I can support you on that. I think the mass bulk and scale and the impacts to the neighbors, I think because this is a small structure and it's tucked in there, and I thought the garage was pulled back farther from the street than I would have visualized on paper. That generally I can support the direction you're going with it. And I think that's everything. So I think you're really pushing the envelope with this one part, but I think you're also doing what needs to be done to be sensitive. And as you continue on with the process, we just want to make sure you follow through.
Thank you.
Comments, Rob?
I think John, first of all, I think this is a really nice project, and I have no doubt in my mind that, eventually it's going to be a great project. So how you get there, where our comments are meant to help move it towards that. But I think John's onto something about the tail wagging the dog. And I don't know how other members feel on this, but as a landscape architect, I'm okay with sometimes losing some oaks. And so that's where sometimes I feel like there's some things being forced in there over trying to save some small, the landmark oaks, of course, you got to kind of save those. But some of these smaller ones, like oak tree 19, looks like that's not going to make it anyhow. But my comment on creating like at the entry in the garage, I think there's kind of a nice, in terms of hierarchy, a really nice sense of arrival missing. And some of that is trying to navigate around every single little oak. And then the pathways being kind of real squiggly and wiggly, and there's not really just nice graceful walkway through this oak woodland, and where things could be simplified. So, as again, I don't know how other members feel, but I'd be okay with losing some oaks in terms of trying to make this project really successful, and solve some of those other things. And like when John's talking about the garage, I think he's onto something that's worth looking at, and maybe just being able to get away from that, then you don't even have to worry about losing oaks, because you're not going to be impacting them because you're moving the building away. But so what else was I going to say on that thing? Yeah. So the only other comments I had, as far as when I look in reference to the landscaping, I think when I looked at the planting design, the understory design, I think that there's some structure missing in the landscape design, where there's just kind of more plants, seems like they're thrown all over the place. And I think that you can kind of take that same plant list and kind of have the plant material feel like, that it extends away from the architecture, and just weave this thing together where it kind of all comes together in a more meaningful way. But anyways, I just wanted to, I guess, make that comment in terms of about looking at trying to simplify some of the pathways and creating a stronger sense of arrival. And I think that maybe is tied to losing a few of this tiny little oaks and really trying to simplify things from that standpoint. So thank you.
Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, I think generally, I think the architecture is beautiful. I think it's really cool and unique and fun. The placement of the main building, I have no problem with that in relation to the tennis court. I think you've done a great job of addressing the oaks, which is great. I too, like Rob, if there's just a cluster and too many oaks, not too many, there's never too many, but if there are some that just can be sacrificed for the better good, I guess, of architecture, then I'm okay with that. The only thing that I'm sort of struggling with is the height, I think, of this 3-story off the road there. And again, I like the architecture. I think if that structure was further away and screened back and invisible from the street, I wouldn't have any issues. So my thought is that, if you could consider it anyway, and I might be in the minority, the idea of some of that third level being on the main building, possibly, wherever it would work best, to help reduce the height of that image off the street. Looking at the story poles and knowing that the grade is going down even lower at the site there, to me felt like, wow, that's going to be very tall and looming, and you're going to have a great shot of it from the drive for the neighbors to pass by. So is the landscape enough to screen that? I don't know. I don't have a problem with the garage door facing that direction too. I think it's a beautiful door, and I think, again, the architecture that you've created is wonderful. So I think the only thing that I would do is consider the idea of maybe taking some of that uppermost floor and repositioning it, whether it's on top of the main building or what have you. And then final, you have 3 curb cuts in the driveway, and I think that if you can diminish the 2 from the third, making one maybe more prominent in terms of its, you've got cobbles, and that's going to really look like the entry, and maybe the other 2, which probably aren't going to be used very often, could be something much less significant, so that they're kind of hidden and disguised, and maybe people don't really realize that they're there so much, except for when they know they need to go there. So other than that, I think everything else is good. Thanks.
I also like this project, except that 3-story element. I will vote against it if that's still there when it comes up for preliminary. I don't want to toot my horn, but the concept of getting the parking in behind on the south side of the property, I think solves a lot of problems. Number one, I think you can get rid of the curb cut that's going to the future ADU. I think you can get rid of the curb cut that's to the west of the tennis court, and you can get rid of the curb cut in the northwest corner. Consolidate it all into one beautiful parking area. Add some oaks if you're taking some oaks out right there on that area. And you are basically level at that point. None of us is getting younger. And, being able to have a relatively horizontal walkway rather than going up a whole series of stairs to get somewhere, I think is going to be to your personal advantage. There's Mike over there looking at me, Yeah, so am I, Mike. So I think that you solve a lot of that. You can park to the ADU, you can park to the main residence, you can get that 3-story element down to a 2-story element just by not having to cut in the way you are. Leave it exactly the way it is so that you get the view of the mountains. I think it's going to solve a lot of problems for you. That's number one. And the curb cuts. This is, when I looked at this project, I was reminded of Wind Tune, which is a Julia Morgan project up on somewhere in Northern California on a creek. What?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I've loved that building ever since the first time I saw it, but not right on the street, please. Okay. And then the last thing, very, very minor, you have a light fixture FX1. It's actually an MR16 fixture, which is not an LED fixture, which is required by law. And so if you could figure out a way to get that so it's not an MR16, I know we're not there yet, but so we don't pick that up later. And there is this concept called glare, which is actually a technical lighting term, which talks about the light coming directly from the bulb horizontally. That fixture does not solve that question. So if you could take a look at that. Okay, so I'm not ready to put this on preliminary with the dear hope that they're going to find a way to bring the parking onto the south side of the property. But I may be in a minority there. What do people think? Do we want to wait and hope for that? I've heard positive comments from other people, and I'm thinking that if they can figure out a way to do that, we'll then get preliminary final on consent. Comments, please?
I'm on the side of you, maybe if you could tweak it a little more, at least for me, the 3-story element's the only thing that's holding me up. That's
Yeah,
only my comment. But I know there's 3 others too.
Well, I think and that's why I made those comments, because I think what Bill's saying, what you're saying, and what I've been saying, they all go hand in hand, and all those issues that were discussed, I think, get resolved, by if you can move the driveway parking over there.
I mean, I could
Awesome.
support moving the parking too, from going, to the main section, the flat area that'll be servicing, obviously the future ADU, and bringing it inside. I think it's more appropriate as well. And the west side, the extra parking spots too below the tennis court, I think can be moved inside of the larger property as well. But I could still support seeing the garage coming off of the street for the one structure.
Dave? So it sounds like 3-2 with this configuration of the board. So there are 5 members, so 7 members. Okay, so shall we come back for one more shot on concept, or? It sounds like 3 of us would like us to do that. Okay, very good. So we'll come back for concept. Hopefully you'll find a way to do that. I think lot line adjustments are relatively simple things to do. And then we can just get you on preliminary final and get you out of here.
I think, you could do it with much more, just simple sketches and more conceptual sketches to resolve it. And then if that works, then what you've done was drawing wise, just kind of, and take that same level of detail onto kind of the new layout. You're there.
Just so the landscape architects know too, much better job on the trees, the oak tree mitigation locations are much better this time, and the overall planting, just so they have some positive feedback. Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a nice holiday, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
item number 4227 Hot Springs Road, please. Mohammed, are you here or online, please? Or somebody
Hi,
else?
good afternoon, board members.
Okay, very good. We're on for further concept. I was not here at the first meeting, so please go ahead. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Just to kind of summarize the comments that we had from last time, we're returning, to address some of the comments that the board members had. They fall into 3 primary categories, one of which was some of the board members felt that, we need to address the massing of the property just so that it's somewhat less visible from the roadway. One of the other major concerns was, studying the driveway configuration and assuring or getting, Montecito Fire their approval to make sure that there's no concerns there as far as accessing the property. And then I believe finally, one of the concerns that one of the board members had was just confirming the floor area ratio metrics. And so we're returning here today to kind of address those comments and hopefully to get some further feedback regarding that.
Would you
So
would
starting
the board like me to read these? Okay, so let me, Mohammed, thank you for doing that, but at least one member's asked me to read these, so please bear with me. Number one, restudy long linear element facing Hot Springs Road. Study options to soften and reduce visibility from a budding roadway. Restudy site layout, integrate structure more fully into site topography, naturalize. Restudy integrating of existing structure and proposed addition. Restudy driveway configuration. Study usability of garage and driveway. Ensure that there will be sufficient backup turnaround area. Review project with the Montecito Fire Protection District. Provide a landscape plan. Consider adding a landscape architect to the project to assist in resolving the issues noted in 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. 8, clarify, confirm floor area ratio. MBAR will evaluate the need for site visit and story polls after MBAR comments, suggestions are incorporated into the project design. So with that, Mohammed, please go ahead and address us how we got there.
Of course. So looking here at the first page, this shows our current existing, site plan and cover page. We're proposing an interior remodel, an addition of 642 square feet to the main building, which is somewhat of a significant reduction of what we were proposing in our initial submission. We're also proposing to add a pool and an ADU to the property. Our total proposed RFA for the main residence is 2,964, which puts us at approximately 85% of the overall FAR. And the FAR calculation can be found on the cover sheet and as well as part of the FAR study that we submitted. Moving on to sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Does that include the ADU in it? It's 576?
So with the ADU, that puts us just about a total of approximately 3,488. So just slightly under the total FAR amount, but we're just at the limit that we have there, the max allowable.
Okay, thank you. Next.
So proceeding to this is the current, sorry, if you could jump to the following page. Sorry, I meant the preceding page. This shows our existing site topography of the property. Just to provide a reminder, the property has a gentle slope from the rear, which is seen on the left side of the page, towards the right side of the page, which is the south side. So just to kind of orient us, we're looking at northeast up there at the top of the property. The addition of the property was designed to maintain as many of the significant trees on site as possible. There are 2 insignificant trees that we're proposing to remove, one of which is an 8-inch small oak and the other is a 7-inch tree. And we'll be utilizing a landscape architect to further flesh out our landscape design. And the property has privacy hedging on all 3 sides that are not facing Hot Springs Road. If you can jump to the next sheet, please. This sheet just shows our existing and demo floor plan. And you can see the areas that I highlighted in the darker gray. That's the areas that we intend to demolish. If you can jump to the next sheet, please. This is our current proposed site plan with the new addition. We're proposing a pool in front of the property that's approximately 34 by 15 feet. And that's between the main building and the ADU structure. We've reduced the size of the massing and set it further back into the property so it doesn't feel as large. We've also split the levels of the main building from the pool and the ADU, and we set those further into the natural grade just so that there isn't that much of a difference, and we've lowered it by a couple of feet there. And if we can jump to the next sheet, please. This sheet shows our preliminary grading plan. The excavation that we're proposing for the pool, the excavation that we're proposing overall is approximately 162 cubic yards, and the infill is about approximately 346. And we'll obviously be trying to, minimize that as much as possible with our civil engineers. Jumping to the next sheet. This is our proposed floor plan. The main redesign was in the area below the entry there. That seemed to be the area of major concern last time. And that has, the living, dining room, kitchen, patio, pool ADU area. We're bringing down the floor down to natural grade, starting from the entry into the ADU by creating several levels. So we have the bedroom level, which is the existing floor level. And then we have the living room, dining, kitchen, and we've stepped those down by approximately 3 steps. And then the pool level is further stepped down by an additional 8 steps on top of those. And that just kind of to address the Bar's comments regarding lowering the property or trying to naturalize the property and soften it up. We also have a 3-car garage that's attached from the main house and doesn't have direct access to the house. If you can jump to the following sheet, please. This shows our current existing elevations that we intend to demo. You can see everything's highlighted in a darker gray. Those are the demonstration areas. If you can jump to the next sheets. This kind of highlights the areas that were once again highlighted by the board members, which is the rightmost structure of the house that felt a little bit too long and linear. Oh, sorry, this is the demo sheet. If we can jump to the following sheet. Yeah, so this is our proposed elevation. And yeah, if you can look at the right side of the structure, that was the area of concern last time. And so to address that, we've reduced its length and we've brought it closer to natural grade. As part of trying to naturalize the property or the design in general, we'll be utilizing stone veneers, wood siding for the exterior, and travertine for the decking. As far as the massing goes, we've pushed it back by approximately 4 feet, that right section of the property. And then we've pushed back the old planter line as well by approximately 7 feet. So overall, just really focused on trying to minimize the massing of the property as much as possible. The distance between the old living room and the wall was approximately 15.5 feet. Sorry, the distance between the old living room and the ADU was approximately 15.5 feet. And now we've expanded that to be approximately 37 feet to just kind of give the property more space and let it breathe. If we can look at the elevation below, that's the second elevation that we have, and that shows the entrance to the property, which is driveway facing. What we did there is we kind of set back the entrance of the property to kind of address some of the concerns that we had regarding backup space for the property and the turnaround area for the vehicles. And if we can jump to the next page, I think that will probably be most useful. So these are some additional elevations for the exterior and the southwest elevation as well, and the backside of the property. Moving on to the next sheet. This is a quick 3D rendition showing the existing and proposed structure. And then we have some renders on the following pages, which I think will help highlight our design intent. So here we have some, 3D renders showing the proposed structures. Some of the items that we intended to do was we added some additional glass surfaces to create an airy feel and to bring natural light to the property. We also added a clear story to the main section of the property, just to kind of play into that concept additionally. We also utilized natural materials such as stone veneer. We have a shugiban wood siding onto the property that we've utilized all around. We've also tried to simplify the utilization of our materials. That was one of the comments that some of the board members had by just unifying them and selecting a smaller palette of materials to work with. Some additional comments is that we'll be adding some low wattage pathway lights that are interspersed throughout the exterior pathways of the property. And obviously that will be something that will be specified by our landscape architect. If you can jump to the next sheet, we have some additional renders as well. And in those renders, you can see, closer the entry to the house in a white oak wood finish. And for the house's exterior, as mentioned earlier, stone veneer, white oak wood, the shusugiban wood siding, which is a Japanese technique for preserving wood with fire. And then we have a standing seam roof and travertine deck floors.
You done?
Yes.
Thank you, Mohammed. Rob, questions, please.
Sorry. Do you have uh, pool fencing or fencing incorporated into this?
The
plan?
property is fenced facing Hot Springs Road. We'll also be utilizing an alarm as an additional pool safety mechanism. And those two criteria should suffice in terms of pool safety. If required, we're also open to the concept of utilizing a pool safety cover in addition.
Can we go to the site plan, please? Yeah, that's the existing site plan, right? Yeah.
Correct, yes.
So I'm still, so I'm trying to, you do not have a landscape architect on the project at this point?
We haven't produced a plan set that we're ready to showcase at this point, but we have been in communication with our landscape architects. But we don't have a plan set to show at the
Okay.
moment.
The reason I primarily made the comment the last time was because I think it drives, it may drive this design and deal with some things differently than I see. But so where's their guest park? How are people supposed to kind of get and park and turn around, I guess, is what I'm trying to understand.
So on the right side is our driveway, and it's a straight shot that leads back to the three-car garage back there. And we have additional turnaround space between the garage and the main residence for guests park there.
Okay, and then is that I'm not really seeing that, but is that a walkway that protrudes into the driveway? Is that what I'm?
I believe if we can jump to the next sheet, it might show a little bit more detail, I believe. Sorry, if we keep going to the floor plan, I think that might. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay, you skinnied up the driveway. And so do you feel there's adequate turnaround space? Somebody can pull up there and then be able to turn around and go the other way without having to back all the way down the driveway?
That is correct, yeah. And we've also had feedback from the Montecito fire. We kind of ran this plan in front of them to see if they had any major concerns. Their major concern was regarding the distance of the driveway. Initially, we had it at 151 feet from the road, which is just slightly above what they like it at 150. So we've since brought out the garage a couple of feet, but they seemed to be okay with it. They wanted us to set up an on-site meeting, which we'll be scheduling. But they approved this preliminarily, but they also wanted to see the design intent of the project to see if we necessarily need to push out the garage or not. They seem to indicate that we might be okay not bringing it out.
And then one last question. What is the in the pool area, you have the Chase lounge areas, and then just to the left of the stairway, there's a line there. What is that supposed to be? Is that a planter or is that a
Oh yeah, we have two additional planters there to the left. So there's two rectangular shapes, and those are planter areas.
Okay, and the pool equipment is, last question. Where's the pool equipment?
Sorry, give me 1 second. We're just pulling that up. So it's located to the bottom left of the ADU.
You can see it on the site.
It can be viewed on the site plan, on the proposed site plan.
Oh, okay. I think I see it. All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
Bill, questions, please.
Rob asked all my questions, so no.
Dave, questions, please.
Questions?
And Stacy, questions, please.
Can you go back and look at your floor plans up above, off of the garage? Okay. I know John remarked about this earlier, that I should have been more articulate. about the interior. I noticed this one too about that there's a lot of circuitous routes within the structure that take up a lot of additional space in terms of the space planning for the interior that then makes the house bigger than it probably needs to be on a lot that is very tight. So I'm just curious, did you look at other ways to reduce the size of the footprint?
Hello, this is Amr Samaha, principal at Samaha Studios. Yeah, we kind of thought about a few different modalities here. And one of the main intents of this project is to bring in nature into the heart of the project. So you can kind of see right at the entry there, there is quite an expansive courtyard space. And the function of that courtyard space is one, to bring in, as I mentioned, the outside into the inside of the house, but then two, to allow for a natural form of lighting throughout all sort of corners of the home. There was one concept that we tried out where we would kind of kill some of the circulation that's going into the master bedroom by having an entry kind of where the kitchen cabinetry is. But it just felt really odd to have that sort of connection of getting into quite a luxurious master suite through your kitchen space. We tried different configurations in which we moved around, the heart of the house, which is kitchen, dining, into where the current living room space is. And that felt really detached from everyday activities and functions. We wanted to preserve the vast majority of the rooms in the back of the house. And that in part is what drove the location of the kitchen being at the heart of it. So yeah, we tried a few modalities here, and I'm definitely personally annoyed at the amount of space that I'm having to utilize, me and my team, in circulation elements that go around this sort of pathway. But after having spent quite some time on the design of this house, there really isn't one that would be able to give us the opportunity to nestle nature in the middle of the house and also provide for that sort of dining room, kitchen to be kind of in the center of the home without giving up that sacrifice of more circulation space.
Okay, and then where are you on stormwater on this? Because this is a lot of paving and a lot of roof on a very small lot. Are you tier 3, tier 2?
1 second. But with regards to paving, I know it's not indicated here, but we're working with Orca Landscape Architects. And one of the main intents of the project is to make sure that we're using highly permeable materials. So we're actually, I'm not a big fan of paving. So even in the driveway that we're currently looking at right now, my design intent is for it to be mostly in gravel and minimal cobblestone just before you exit the driveway into the street, and then quite a significant amount of limestone cobblestone right at the entry there. Mo may have mentioned earlier that we're not ready to submit our landscape designs yet, but they should be ready for our next submission. I'm asking one of my team members here to pull up the information that you had asked for, Elena. I'm sorry, we don't have that ready for you right now. I'll make sure to have that answer for you for next time.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Montecito wants to be a semi-rural area. When I look at this plan with the long driveway, what I know is inadequate turnaround. You may disagree with me, but at some point that asphalt's going to go all the way to I'm not sure which way north is on this plan. It's going to go off to the east all the way to the property line to get decent parking, turnaround. When you're required to get the 2 covered plus 1 uncovered, that something's going to happen to that garage, or you're going to add even more hardscape. I see a significant amount of hardscape, and I know the pool is not technically hardscape, but what it does is not permit trees or planting. That this is actually at best, a suburban, if not even almost an urban plan. So the question is, have you considered ways to significantly increase the amount of landscape area and decrease the amount of hardscape on the site, please?
Yes, thank you for that question. And you're absolutely right. I'm gonna go into a little bit of my personal design ethos here. It's one of my biggest concerns, nestling homes into environments that feel overbuilt. And that in part is what drove this idea of wanting to create this sort of interior green courtyard space. I know that the current plans don't indicate any plant material, and it does indicate an excess of planters and things that would translate as vertical built non-permeable elements. But that is definitely the intent for me to nestle this house amongst greenery. One of the other main things I kind of want to discuss is with regards to the driveway. I heard you mention that it's currently asphalt. This is somewhat the pre-existing condition of the home, and to the best of my knowledge, I think it was concrete, and we're removing all of that concrete. And I mentioned this earlier, but we're introducing gravel and cobblestone, white lime cobblestone, that would also be intertwined with gravel to give more of a sort of country vibe or rural aesthetic to the home. In line with that is actually the material choice that I've picked out for the exterior of the home, namely the shushugi and limestone as well, cladding on certain areas of the home. This is supposed to translate as a very rustic experience. It's supposed to translate as something that is been here, but has been upgraded to contemporary living. And that is the intent of the design. There is several planters that are scattered throughout the property that when I look at it from your lens as a design review board, I could understand how it feels extremely overbuilt, but there is significant landscaping that will go into these planters and maybe actually cancel out a significant portion of those planters in lieu for vegetation and plant life.
But you've got between, just for the sake of ease, the kitchen area and the accessory building at the south. For all intents and purposes, 100% of that, which is almost equal to the size of the house itself, not quite, is all hardscape of one type or another. How can you make a representation that that's soft and snuggly and landscaped and tree covered and things like that, please?
So I see what you're referring to. You're discussing the patio space in between of the living room and the master bedroom. The intent for that is to
And
be
all the way down to the accessory building at the south of the property. All
correct.
of that.
Correct. I'm about to address all that. Thank you. So yes, you're absolutely right that it is represented here as hardscape, and for that specific location where that sort of outdoor al fresco dining space and patio space exists, there will only be 2 hard surfaces, and then it would be lined around it with gravel material again, and some interspersed flat matter that will be within the gravel material, but that will show in the next iteration of this design. Now, with regards to where the pool is, that for the most part will have to be hardscape because this is circulation space. One other alternative that we've kind of explored is having stepstone or flagstone pavers with gravel surrounding the pool, with having a slight difference between the pool coping and the level of said gravel and flagstones. But my concern is it would travel significantly and end up being inside the pool. So for the pool area, you're absolutely right that it might end up translating a lot more built than permeable. But as far as the alfresco dining space, it would only really be the areas in which people would use the space or under the furniture. And then all of the pathways surrounding will be in that flagstone intertwined with the gravel.
Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 4227 Hot Springs Road, please?
No hands raised.
Okay, we're on for further concept today. Rob.
What I guess I'm disappointed in is that, and what I tried to encourage the last time is I really felt there was enough issues throughout the project and throughout this approach to this project that you would really be served by having a good landscape architect to work hand in hand and side by side with you folks that could kind of create a more natural, organic kind of sense to this project and have this nice interplay of, architectural straight lines and then maybe nice curves and things like that, that kind of, when they're put together, can create kind of a nice, can create a nice feel to it. And so I don't believe that, I believe your approach is, and forgive me, is that you're just thinking that you can just throw some shrubs into the planters and that's going to solve the problem. And I think what's happening is that you kind of need to almost, to me, you need to almost step back and work with a landscape architect. And I think this project, and that's what I said the first time, and that was part of the minutes. I think this will evolve in a way that you'll be happy architecturally, and that the whole site will take on an entire different tone and come together in a much nicer way and get rid of a lot of the paving and hardness to it. And so I, like resolving the stormwater management, I think you're gonna have a hard time with that, with the amount of paving you have there. You don't even really look like you have an area to put chambers and stuff. And I do think some of the long driveway is still there and that's not resolved itself. So I feel like there's kind of a long way to go, unfortunately, to kind of get where I think this project has the potential to be. And so I guess I'm encouraging you to get a landscape architect to be part of the overall design process that works with you rather than just throwing plants at it is where I'm coming from. So thank you.
Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, I like the architecture of the house. I don't have any problem with that. I think it looks attractive and got kind of a mid-century modern sort of feel to it, little contemporary elements. I along with Rob too have a bit of issue with the driveway though, and I think if you have the template for the radius turn to get a car out of there so that you can drive out front and not have to back all the way down, you might want to try that first because it looks like it's going to be very tight to do that, and you're going to have probably a 5-point turn to do that. Equally, the paving, the hardscape, again, I think there are places where you could easily get more planting. There's a little nook there on the side of the stairs, the main stairs that comes from the upper patio to the pool deck, where there's a spot that probably is going to be a dead space, not much happening there. Maybe some of the balcony porches that come off of those rooms aren't necessary, and maybe you could end up landscaping some of that. So I think you can kind of reduce some of that down and make that work a whole lot better. And a landscape plan is clearly going to be essential, I think. It's hard to tell where property line and grid lines are on this too. I think it looks like, oh, there's property line labeled. Yeah, so that, that property line edge landscaping against it to show how it's screened from the neighbors and privacy and green and all of that is going to really improve this tenfold. So I would encourage that. I think that's it. Thank you.
Dave, comments, please.
Yeah, I like the architecture. I think the problem is it feels a little forced on this site. The shape of the site and just the way it dominates it. My understanding you're at 85% FAR, but somehow it's a challenge. So I completely agree with Rob and Bill that landscape is a key element that's missing, and it absolutely needs to be studied. I haven't seen any existing photos of the site. I don't have a sense of how this is going to impact the neighbors, the community, but just the amount of paving is a real concern. So while the architecture I can potentially support, I think there's a lot of work to be done in the site design in reducing paving and softening it so that it has more of a rural feel and not such a suburban urban feel. So I would need to have that balanced before I can support the project.
Stacy, comments, please.
I definitely agree with the other board members. Would like to compliment you though, since the last round, in terms of, I think the building itself is working better on the site than it did previously when you had that long, huge portion coming straight out that was almost like a bridge out to the neighborhood. And I think the materials are on the house and the architecture is looking really good, but too much hardscape. It just reads very urban and needs to work better. And you say you want to have the nature in there. I'm just not seeing that on your plans in any way, shape or form, in terms of that courtyard. And I think it's just studying like what nature really is. I also think that the raised planters lend it to looking even more urban when you raise up all the planters and kind of contain the planting separate. That could help reduce the look of the hardness of this plan, but also too, I think stormwater is going to be a challenge. And just the garage and the turnaround. Yeah, those cars definitely cannot turn around in that space. That has to be resolved.
Done. The parking requirement is 2 covered plus 1 uncovered. You're not permitted to park the uncovered in front of a covered. So you don't have the required extra parking space. Now you can, of course, get rid of one of the garages and turn that, but that obviously needs to be done. That parking is just not going to work, period. Everyone that's on this board knows that. And so that's going to have to be done. And what's going to happen is it's going to take that driveway or the turnaround area over to or almost over to the east property line, which will significantly increase the hardscape even more. And if it's gravel, to me, it's still hardscape. There's kind of 2 things. There's landscaping, there's soft, plants, and then there's everything else. So you're just creating part of that hardscape, which I don't think is a good idea. In fact, I won't support it. I won't vote for it. I think it's an interesting idea to have some kind of a open space in the middle of the project. But if you look to the north of that, there's bedrooms with a solid wall, so they don't get, at least here in plan, maybe they're high windows going into those spaces, but that open courtyard area seems to be taking up a lot of real estate. I actually had the good fortune to work on a Carlton Winslow house on one of the 7 hills of Montecito, which was, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago now, but it had a very large interior courtyard and area, and that worked. But these smaller areas, in my mind, are more like what Eichler was trying to do in the 50s and 60s, and we've moved away from that, and I think there's probably a pretty good reason why we did, in terms of lots of issues. It's kind of like the IHOP up on State Street that with the big magnolia tree in it. But the hardscape from the living room, kitchen, all the way down to the accessory building at the south of the property. I mean, there's just so many things about this that feel urban. I will not be able to solve it. If you don't want to hire a landscape architect, we certainly cannot require that. But I think that the suggestion is a good one in the sense that they will bring a sensibility that most architects and building designers don't have. And so I think this needs a fairly major rethink. And I would say that we come back for further concepts at our next review. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah, so any quick comments before we move on to the next item, please?
Thank you, board members. With just a quick comment, just to kind of summarize the board members' opinions, it's to utilize a lot more landscaping onto the existing layout and to somewhat resolve the driveway and garage issue. Does that somewhat summarize the comments? Because initially we returned to address somewhat, the massing of the building. I wanted to know if that's been resolved to your liking, and we now focus on
Anybody
the
got
landscape.
problems with the architecture itself?
Well, the only thing I think there's a lot of hallway space, right? In there that
At the FAR though, do we really have the right to, I think it's,
okay, yeah, just trying to give them some direction.
Yeah,
that they can hang that on, so.
compact designs tend to be more beautiful, but formal designs are formal designs, what can I say? But I think that you've got the gist of it, but I think rethink it, please. I mean, make sure that every line on there has been reconsidered.
And maybe just come back with some like hand-drawn concept stuff and to help move it along, so.
Context too,
Yeah.
photos, so when.
So high fire zone too, because that impacts what trees you put in, so that into account.
Are they in high fire that low?
No, are you guys in high fire zone? Or
Not
hot
that I'm
springs? Everything, it's a hot springs.
Slide or fire, one of the two.
Yeah, just because you can't bring trees that close to the house in a high fire zone, so that has to be considered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number
Thank you.
5, 621 Barker Pass Road. Please. Ro- Sure. Yeah, yep.
Are we ready?
Yeah, it's your turn, please, go
All
ahead.
right. Joe Stewart, Studio 4 Design Group, and this is the owner, Max. So you were all here for the last presentation, so I'm guessing you guys are I don't have to run back through that. So the major comments were from you, as far as reworking that back deck. So we did that. And I think it works out better, honestly, circulation wise, because it drops down into that family room. on the one side and then drops down towards the ADU on the other side, or the proposed ADU. We also, is Rob coming back?
He is, but let's keep going.
Okay, his comment was the walkway from the street
Yes,
to
it
the
was.
house. And I suspect he would have wanted that to be more centered on the door. But we want more of a play area in the front yard, so this gives us a little more freedom. We still have a gate, pedestrian access to the site. It's not complicated, but that's how we address that comment. We had a comment, can we go to the photographs? Please? Last sheet, sorry. Should be the last 2 sheets, maybe 3. So next sheet, please. Okay, so that the center one on the bottom, that's showing that site wall out front. So that's next to the driveways where we would have that, the new gate and walkway, go down and connect with that existing walkway that goes to the front door. The other comment. Okay, so the top of the sheet, that's one of the comments was, what's it going to be like from that upper floor deck? So I took a bunch of pictures going kind of panoramic all the way around. So those, the top 3 and then the second row on the left, those are all looking from that space. So you can see that it doesn't look into the neighbors' yards and they can't see you. So I think that was your comment, I believe, was to get those photos. So those are here. What I passed out to you guys, Max was nice enough to put together from the assessor, the county assessors. It's all the residential square footage, not the garage, but the residential square footage of the surrounding houses, because I realize we are over the FAR, and that the FAR is a function of the house, the site, and a multiplier, which I don't quite understand, but it's not a direct correlation between the square footage of the lot and the house. So I wanted to show this to show that our square footage is, I think, pretty compatible to the neighborhood. And there's also another sheet of photos that shows some of the neighboring houses, and you can see the scale of those houses. So mass bulk and what I'm getting at is at mass bulk and scale, I think we're compatible. And I think what's really getting us here is the fact that our lot is particularly small for that neighborhood. And I know that that goes into the FAR, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that we are below kind of the average square footage for the neighborhood. And the mass bulk and scale seems to be appropriate for the neighborhood. So while I understand that there's concerns about the FAR, it still seems like as far as neighborhood compatibility goes, I think we're on the mark. Yes, you can add.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciated all the comments. I thought they actually made the project even better. I just wanted to add that, the 212 square feet we're adding here really makes the project or the house more functional. The interior, the living room, dining room, kitchen right now is kind of a mess. And so.
Could we get the existing floor plans up, please? Because that's what I was going to walk through.
Existing or proposed?
Yeah.
Existing or proposed?
Existing first.
And so my one comment, and I'll let Joe take that, is just that what we're proposing really is infill, and it's very minor infill to make everything else work. And so it was important for me to show how the house fit into the rest of the neighborhood and really reflected the character of the neighborhood and was on the middle to lower side of equivalent houses around, and that these small minor additions to the infill really made the house really work. But I'll hand that to Joe, who's better at it than me.
Yeah, so if you look at the existing floor plan, you can see the kitchen to dining to living room is a mess. And so you walk up those steps, you go into a utility laundry room. So we're essentially capturing that space where the staircase comes up and just kind of squaring that off so that we have the kitchen in that room, and we'll go to the proposed floor plan in a second. And then we have the dining, we can move the dining up into that space as well, which leaves then the living room to just be a nice sized living room, because this is realistically a pretty small house and these spaces are pretty small. So then if you also then on that same floor plan, look at the restroom area, the owners wanted to get a powder room in there as well as a full bath. So that's how we kind of ended up popping out to the right of that existing restroom, which is part of the additions that are on the front, the two small additional spaces that we'll get to here in a second. And then the upstairs is, we're just reworking that. There's really no added square footage. So then if we want to go to the proposed, unless you want to add something to that.
Just to give context, I mean, we have 2 little kids, so, you know, they've got toys in all those bathrooms right there. So it'd be nice to have that one tiny half bath to not have that experience.
I'm well aware of that one for sure. Okay, so there's the proposed. So you can see how we cleaned up the kitchen dining area and then opened that up as much as we could to the living room. So that gives them more space to just lay out a realistic living space for a larger and growing family. Then so we snuck in that powder room and then we had to kind of push out to the right where we have that bathroom at that level. And so that's part of the addition that we are adding. And then you step down into the family room area, and that is where we found a place where we could relocate the laundry. And they have a little small wine storage room. So it's a pretty small addition on that side, and a pretty small addition on the northwest side, or I guess the top left of the page. Do you have anything to add to that? Okay, and you can see that the deck actually works a lot better this way, so thank you for that comment. We were just keeping it as a transitional space to the yard, but this ends up doing that and more, so that's great. Do we want to look at the elevations, or are you guys comfortable with the very minimal changes that we did to that? So the upstairs is essentially the same.
My last comment is just that, you know, this is, I think the chair may know this house. It's kind of been the not loved house on the block in the community. So the community is very happy with a young family stepping in here and taking care of it. When we showed up, you know, there was literally plants going out of the gutter. So, you know, I believe we put up 2 letters of support, which are the neighbors most impacted by these small infill elements, and they are thrilled. And we went there with the pleasure going there for Halloween and, you know, talked and introduced ourselves to all the neighbors, and everyone's, you know, very excited, which I think these letters showcase.
Are you done, please?
Yeah, unless you want to go through the elevations.
Members of the board?
Okay. Dave, they're going through.
Okay. Questions, Dave, please.
What is the FAR proposed?
What was it? What did we end up with? 130? Sorry, I didn't have that in my notes here, but it's
On the
if we still have your study, I was expecting we were going to have your study up there.
I believe it's 134. Don't fully quote me on that.
Didn't see it on the plans, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I did it for last meeting and apparently they didn't, you know, they don't normally add them in. So
It was just a folder that was in your, sorry, go ahead.
from my point of view, I think the neighborhood is maybe even a little under 100. So I don't remember though perfectly. It's somewhere under 110 for sure. That the only question you have, Dave? Stacy, questions, please?
No questions.
Rob, please.
No questions.
Bill?
So the square footages that you listed on this sheet here, the 2188, is that your final square footage then? Or is that your?
What I have with it, so existing is 2,092 by my calculations, and then proposed 2,303. So we're essentially adding just over 200 square feet.
1,303. And these other numbers you collected.
I did, yeah. I apologize.
Those are the numbers that you have.
Those are from the county assessor's information all online.
Got
So that might not be the same data that you guys look at it every day, but that's what I used.
Okay, thanks, that's all.
And I have no questions. So public comment, we are on for preliminary today. 621 Barker Pass Road. Is there anybody that would like to address the board, please?
For those of us attending online, go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to speak on this item. Seeing no hands raised.
Okay, so comments. We are over the FAR. My FAR study, in my opinion, did not justify that. There was comments last time where people thought it was insignificant, whatever, but that's what we're up to today about voting. Dave, please.
Yeah, I think you've demonstrated that the outdoor deck is not impacting privacy. I think that it's a challenging house, and the minor improvements you're proposing really do increase the livability of it. And I don't think it impacts the neighborhood with the additions from a mass, bulk, and scale perspective. I appreciate the way you've made the deck work. And so in this specific case, because of the existing conditions, the existing house, the fact that I do not see significant impacts of what you're proposing, that I can support the project for preliminary approval, even though it is exceeding the FAR.
Stacy, please.
I agree with Dave. I don't think it creates a precedent necessarily about, exceeding FARs in this particular situation, because you do have a house that fits the size, bulk, and scale of the neighborhood. And the additions are extremely modest for livability's sake without any kind of great impact. And I also think the deck is much better and actually usable, and I can support it.
Rob, please.
So let me ask you this, if we're gonna do preliminary, are they not required to do a landscape plan of some sort? I don't see one. Okay, so a landscape plan isn't, we're asking for preliminary. I just was wondering whether a landscape
That's
plan is
what
not.
they're asking for, yes.
I was just wondering if there's a landscape plan is required, because I thought it was.
Landscape plans are not required. They're at the discretion of MBAR if they believe it's necessary to meet the findings.
My take is that it could use a little dress up in a few spots than what's being shown on at least the pictures that I see now. But in terms of what you're doing architecturally, I support.
And what's that mean? I don't know what your comment.
My comment is I wouldn't like to see just a quick conceptual landscape plan from what I see in the pictures. If I'm mistaken, and you feel it's adequate, then that's fine. But what I see in the pictures, it looks like it's lacking landscaping.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. We're on for preliminary today. Are you saying I will vote for preliminary, but I need some kind of additional landscaping on final? Or are you saying you would need the landscaping now before you can vote for it? Or is there some other?
So I would say the first part. I would like to see it before we get final. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So you're willing to support it?
Yes.
Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, I think I can support the additional square footage because the way you've sort of nestled it into the existing house. I looked at the sheet that you provided here, and of the 13 that you had, 8 of them were over your square footage, or close to anyway. Yeah, all of them over. 5 were not. So I felt that that was a good case as well in this particular instance where I could support that FAR being over. And to Rob's point, I know I wouldn't require it, but I would recommend it. It would be all I would say, and I'm sure you're probably going to want to landscape it anyway. And so whether it becomes a requirement from me, I would say no, but I'd recommend it. Look like a lot of hardscape everywhere right now, which you're leaving and not doing anything with until you decide later you might want to do that. So, so I could approve it for preliminary.
Okay, I'm going to vote against it. I've never voted for anything without a neighborhood study that supports it, which is not true in this case, in my mind. So do I have a motion for preliminary approval, please?
Yes, I'd like to make that motion.
And did you feel a need for additional landscaping or just as presented, please?
I think it's fine as presented. I don't.
Okay, is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Did I ask for public comment? I did, right? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number.
Standard, come back on standard.
No, come back on consent.
Consent, final.
Yeah, final and consent. Okay, we're down to 4.
Dave?
I love this board. Okay. Item number 6, 1463 Hosmer. Just so the board knows, I, was not really convinced about seeing the drawings. And I went on over and took a little drive-by yesterday. And this project is completely surrounded by about a 6 or 7 foot high hedge, which has not been shown on the drawings. I suggested that they present some photographs, but anyway, so planner comments. During the August 8th hearing, your board made comments about the landscaping and fenestration. Applicant is not planning to change the landscaping. Yeah, that'd be great. So the proposed primary suite addition is planned in an area currently as a low hedge or brick patio that would need repair and lawn. No further changes to landscaping are proposed. The updated hardscaping design is shown on submitted drawings. Applicant has made select changes and refinements based on the board's input to the fenestration, not only on the north side, but all around the house. So yes, this is what I saw when I was out there too. So this house is essentially invisible. Kimberly, if you didn't see it, Dave left. I don't know if you saw him go.
I did, thank you, though.
Okay, so would you like to go ahead and make your presentation, please?
You guys hear me?
I don't, yeah. Go,
Push the button in front there.
the thing, no, it was on.
Green is on.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Get up close to it, yeah.
No, go ahead, do it again. Tap.
Okay.
Get up
Okay,
close.
very good.
Thank you so much. This is Wade over Mosaic Architects. We're here back for a preliminary and final review for our project. The scope of work did not change much since we last were here for conceptual review. It's about an addition of 425 square feet to the existing single-family home that is currently 1,724 square feet to a total of 2,149. Since the last time we got here, we got a great feedback from the board. Thank you for that. And we did slightly updated cottage design to this house. So if we move forward with the slides to maybe page, the square footage here did not change. So if we move forward to page number 6, which is the material board, we added, basically we are in respect of the architecture of the existing cottage house. The roofing material sample you see here is basically the same as existing, and that's going to be applied to the additions. The exterior is going to be the same material with the exterior siding, and then with the trim material, you see the colors at the bottom side of the sheet. If we move forward to slide number 8, we added some inspiration. Next slide, please. We added some inspirational images for the porch of the building, and I would like to share some background of the owner, actually, who is with us here. Pierre.
Does anybody have a problem with this design at all? I'm kind of ready to move along. Are you guys kind of ready to move along?
Yeah, but let me,
Sure.
Preliminary and final.
let
you
me,
have a
let me just,
question?
yeah, well, let me just say something about the hedge. Is hedges die and aren't successful from time to time, but my concern is I thought that there was some restrictions on the height that this hedge is maintained at, and there's some setbacks in terms of you can't have a hedge over 6 feet right on the street, right on the property line like that. So that does not apply in the Montecito. I know they only enforce it with new construction. That's why I bring it up. And then any sight line, like getting in and out of the driveway issues too, that become where this hedge will not be, that is going to have to be cut back in some spots or whatever. Well, county, no, the roads and the county enforces it in a big way.
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to
Okay.
provide some feedback.
Okay, so, all right. So if you want to move this along, I'm happy to move it along.
Less is more. Okay, so questions. Rob, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Bill? Stacy? And I have no questions. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 6, 1463 Hosmer Lane? We're on for both preliminary and final, please.
No hands raised.
Comments? Rob?
Happy to grant preliminary and then for final, maybe come back to consent with,
Why not now?
I need to scroll through the drawings then to make sure that, yeah, that.
Yeah, it's really simple, guys. Okay, so do you have questions?
I do.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's not quite as linear as it normally is. Go ahead.
Exterior lighting, did they show that? Did you guys have exterior lighting shown?
So-
Fixtures? Are you doing any mounting?
We are, and we're using the same light fixture that is in the existing house. We're just adding a little bit more, especially to comply with code.
So
Currently,
night sky compliant?
yes,
Okay.
thank you. There should be an image of it
Just a photo.
on the site, on the existing photos. So that would be page number 7.
The LRV of the color.
I checked it. It's okay.
Is
Yeah.
So maybe the photo in the middle.
Okay, so comments. Rob had none. Bill, Stacy, comments.
I think it's a reasonable proposal and I think it's an attractive project. I can support it.
And I can too. We've done the public comment. Yes, Dave? Okay. Is there a motion for both preliminary and final, please?
I'll make the motion to grant preliminary and final approval for 1463 Hossamer Lane.
Is there a second, please?
Can second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Here.
Okay, he is permitted to abstain for some reason, and I'm going to vote yes, so it's 3 in favor, 1 abstention.
The
Okay.
abstention was Fowler,
Yes.
What?
just confirming that Fowler was the abstention. Thank you.
Yes. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Okay. But it's already okay.
So then that, let me just finish. That's the precedent. So if I have all these. Go through what it-
No, he had
So-
full sets of drawings. I had never seen a landscape plan, and he demonstrated that he has existing landscaping and the hedge.
And I
So I
think
didn't
they-
fully, I didn't fully see all that.
Didn't the planner memo also say they weren't proposing landscape
Yeah,
changes?
so
That's all.
they did everything we've asked them to do and ask everybody else to do. Yes.
So in the construction's
Not really.
No, the additions that they did, they were all within the building.
Item number 7, 2286 Sycamore Canyon Road. Mark, are you here or somebody else, please?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay, so provide more detailed plans, including topography, existing landscaping, perimeter landscaping, clearly delineated hardscape from landscape, note footprint of adjacent development, provide site sections through pool, laundry room, and residence, submit photos of existing residents, consider adding landscape architect designer to the project team. Floor is yours.
Okay,
Please.
yeah, my name is Mark Allen. I'm here representing homeowners Darren and Luann Caesar. I'm also representing Elite Designs and Remodeling. Scope of this project has not changed. We are addressing the comments that you just mentioned. We did, starting with page 3, we added site photos, which gives you a street view, gives you a view from the driveway looking towards the existing house. Also looking towards the pool and the accessory structure, the proposed pool and accessory structure, a view from the house looking towards the project, a view from the project looking towards the house, aerial views showing the proposed project footprint and the footprint of all adjacent developments, and also showing the existing screening. Then moving on to page 4, we revised the site plan to clarify and sorry, page 4 is the project renderings. Thank you. Yeah, project renderings showing the pool, the accessory structure in relation to the house, as well as in relation to its general surroundings. And then page 5, we revised the site plan to clarify and better delineate the hardscape, the landscape, better show the topography. We also added cross-section number 2, which shows the site section running through the pool, laundry room, and residence. And then on page 6, we did add a landscape plan to show existing and proposed landscaping as well as perimeter landscaping. And finally, just for reference, page 13, the grading plan for all exact elevations and topography.
That it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, question, Stacy.
Can we look at the planting plan, Dave? Before this. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, it's page 6.
Okay. And you are adding Monterey pines to this? They're new? Or are those
This is,
existing?
those are existing.
Okay. There's a Banksia, Lantana, Premium 10X. And are you sure this describes all the plants that you're adding? Because I see symbols on here that don't exist in your plant palette.
I think it was just a general idea. We wanted to show, the majority of the existing landscape and examples where we would, just accentuate the existing landscape. There's not a lot of actual landscaping around this project area. It's a lot of hardscape, but we do plan on tying it in with showing more of what's already existing.
So how are you differentiating what's existing versus what is proposed on this sheet?
Is existing, let's see. It's pretty much all existing.
Okay, but a lot
Except
of
for
these,
there's, we could probably differentiate. There's going to be grass around the pool area that's not existing now. You
okay.
can see that from the site photos, but besides that, virtually all of that's existing. I think there's a little bit around that grass area that's also going to be new planted. Everything in the planters along the property line there, that's all going to be new.
And is all of this hardscape necessary?
Yes, because of the slope, we were having to do several retaining walls just to make sure that we've got flat ground. The house sits much higher from the pool. The accessory structure sits much lower from the pool, so we have to kind of provide 4 carefully tiered areas.
I'm asking more about the hardscape, you know,
Mhm.
on the horizontal plane versus the hardscape being walls having to do with retaining. I understand that. I'm speaking more towards the hardscape in the horizontal plane coming out, because
Sure.
also too, isn't that down below, is that all, it looks like, because you used the same hatch coming up the driveway. How about as we go down below on this property
Oh.
too? Is that all hardscape as well?
No, sorry, that is not all hardscape. That should all basically be, yeah, that shouldn't be hatched the same.
What is that?
That's just kind of a grove of trees and bushes.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
scroll back to the street view, you can kind of see a little
Yeah,
bit
that's not
better.
helping you. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Because that definitely reads as tons of hardscaping on this
Okay,
particular
yeah.
project.
D-
But also
no.
too, but in looking at too, because you're not really showing any site furnishings or anything other than an outdoor kitchen. I'm just questioning whether or not all of this hardscape is truly necessary.
Well, it's really just around the pool. You got to have hardscape around that, and then around the accessory structure, it's fairly minimal. You know, it's just kind of the area directly around the accessory structure, and then the area between the house and the pool, just to access the pool. You know, you kind of need steps just because of the terrain. But
is
I think
that
it's fairly minimal.
Is that hardscape existing then that's adjacent to the house that's shown in the same hatch pattern as all the new stuff?
Let's see, that is
Just north of the end of the house.
right.
Somewhat triangular. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if that's covered in the site photos or not.
There's a spot up there, but I think that's going away. Yeah.
What happened to the there was a topo plan too. That's it's not married together here.
Okay, I think that's the end of my questions.
Bill, questions, please. May I have my phone back? Yes.
So again, I'm not to beat this up a little bit, but the area to the west of the pool, is that existing hardscape right up to the property line, or is there a little bit of planting there between what is that? A hardscape there between the pool and the west property line, which is at the top.
West property line. Let me
Top of the
just look
sheet.
at this.
On this drawing. Existing. It's hard to tell though.
Yeah, I think that.
Like the neighbors
I
got a
think
lot
the
of
neighbors
trees.
have got the
So the
trees.
neighbors have a pretty thick tree line there on that side, west side.
Correct.
Can you maybe look at the survey?
Yeah, well, that is a survey, yeah. Okay, and that is it. That's all I got.
Rob, questions, please?
I think one of those things we're struggling with is that on the landscape plan you didn't have any topo, and so I think graphically, if graphically you could better define what's existing in a way, and then kind of pop out what's new, and then showing contours would help, because there's some things just looking at, like you have this on the left side of the ADU, you have this big, huge stairway, and then some of the grades don't look like they make sense. And so it's causing some confusion. So I think you could kind of take kind of the bones of what you have here and do some adjustments, and it'll work better for you. But I'm not fully understanding some of the things. So is there a new, is that a new wall on the, next to the ADU? Does that wall, like it says new 6 foot tall retaining wall?
Yes.
And then that thing is like 3 inches next to another wall. Is that wall existing or what's,
All the walls in that area are basically new.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing to provide,
So-
you know.
yeah, so
Also-
you can't really
also, if
have
you look at
walls that
the-
are that big, that close, most likely.
No, we did clear planning with that. It was, they're all separated by, I believe it's
5 feet?
5 feet. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at 3 inches of green between two walls. That's why that's why I think
I'm
there's
sorry.
some confusion.
Can you be more
So-
specific about where
Sure,
you're looking?
I'm sorry. It says to the right of the second floor ADU under separate permit, and then to the right of that, you're showing a curved patio, and then there's so there's two, what looks like two walls right next to one another. And
No,
then
that's
there's
just a
that
patio.
6-foot retaining wall cable railing on top. So that looks graphically like two walls.
6-foot retaining
It says new
wall.
6-foot retaining wall.
Landscape plan.
Yeah, I'm sorry, looking at the landscape plan.
Look at
Okay.
the one
Not the
planting
one
on
that's
it,
up, yeah.
David. Yeah.
That's where the landscape plan would be served better by showing the contours on it too.
Fine. There it is.
Yeah, that plan, like to the right of the ADU up in the upper right-hand corner, there's that red text right there that says new 6-foot retaining wall cable railing on top. That
Okay,
looks,
you're on
if
the
that's a
site
s-
plan.
Yeah, if that's a 6-foot wall and then it can't be next to another, and that now they're both new walls, then you can't have them close like that.
No,
That's a civil
that
issue.
wall is existing. The wall that runs underneath the existing pergola is an existing wall.
Okay, so, yeah, because then the structural integrity of that wall above that you're saying is new would basically have to carry the load and circumvent the wall below it. So that's, okay,
It's just a block wall. It's not a retaining wall.
okay, yeah, there's a little confusion graphically, but, okay.
It's called out above and below that area. If you look just above where the pergola is, existing block wall, or just to the right, retaining block wall.
Are you done, Robert?
Yeah, no, okay, I'm fine.
And I have no questions. So we're on for preliminary public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 7, 2286 Sycamore Canyon Road, please?
If you're attending remotely, just raise your hand, and if you'd like to speak on this item. No hands raised.
Okay. On for preliminary comments. Stacy.
I think in order to support this, I think the hardscape still needs to be reduced. I'm not really convinced, especially when you don't show much in the way of site furnishings, that it's very necessary for this design to be accomplished. And I think the planting plan needs to differentiate between what is existing versus what is proposed. And you don't have to let us know exactly what every plant is that's existing, but rather the areas that you're impacting, exactly what are you planting precisely, because it's incomplete.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just supporting Mark with the comments. If you look at the existing photos, most of the hardscape is already existing, and we're not touching any of that area. Our only scope of work is the new pool and the accessory structure. So I don't understand how the existing hardscape affects us.
Aren't you
Or-
removing, is that spa existing that's on the plan now, or is that a new spa? From the,
That's existing, but you guys were talking about like the hardscape, which is not even hardscape in front of the property.
no, I'm talking about around the pool area.
Yeah, but I mean it's a pool and you need decking for
Yes,
a pool, right?
you do
Not
need
always.
some, but not a lot.
So you guys have had your opportunity to present. Stacy, I hear that you're saying you want better.
But better
Yeah.
clarity on the planting plan and better clarity about what's existing versus what is proposed on the hardscape plans.
Okay.
Okay. And Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, no, I think if you can identify what's new, what's existing, and then we can kind of go from there. My only comment, I'm fine with the ADU and the structure. And I appreciate the 3D model. That was great. That's what I really looked for. That was great, very helpful. The other thing is I would still want to see maybe a little bit of buffer there between the neighbor, even though they've got a huge hedge, they've got control of their planting on that side. If that ever comes down, then you're going to be looking right at them. I would say that area on the west side of the pool, if you can get a little bit of a planter over there, looks like there might be something happening there, but I can't tell what that is. That would be the only area that I would recommend. And I think that's a outside fenced area. I think we talked about that last time. That thing that goes into the setback, it looks like a fenced area, which is fine. As long as it doesn't have a roof cover on it, I'm fine with that. So that, a little more clarity and landscape, that's all. Thanks.
Okay, Rob, comments, please.
Yeah, I like, well, I'm glad the 3D rendering helps. I think, what's happening is, and first of all, I appreciate the fact that you folks are kind of producing a landscape plan and going to the effort to put together some documents. I unfortunately, I don't think they're well executed. And so there's some confusion with, there's some issues with the design, but but there's some confusion with the graphics in there and being able to discern what's existing, what's new. It's missing topo information. It's missing, number of stairs and risers, and it's missing information that I think would help tell the story of what you're trying to do. But with that said, still think that you could, so first of all, you don't need to have hardscape around a pool. It's nice. And in commercial, you're required to have 50% around the pool. But I think that you have almost too much hardscaping in that it could be softened a little. So you need to have meaningful pieces of hardscape. And I think that maybe you should look at trying to strip some of it out and then clean up the graphics. And I think you're on the right path, and your 3D rendering starts to at least sell a vision that I can start to understand. So but those are my comments. Thank you.
I have nothing more to add. So the question in my mind is, do we give it preliminary as it sits here now with comments and then come back on final? Or do we say, come on, guys, let's kind of get this cleaned up now before we give you preliminary, and then get preliminary final on consent? In terms of time, it's exactly the same amount of time. Which way do you guys want to go, please?
I think it needs to be cleaned up. And actually, alls I would ask them is to almost do like a simple hand-drawn sketch, and so we know they're in the right direction, and then they could take it back to this graphic, using the CAD graphics. So
Okay, so
I
No.
was just gonna say, they might as well just go for it, Rob, not do a sketch.
Okay,
that's fine too.
So I'd like to move, since we're on for preliminary, I'm going to make a motion. I'd like to move that this project be referred to the consent calendar with the applicant to provide greater clarity of the landscaping for the property, since there are areas that are at best confusing. Try to get your own landscaping buffering on the west property line and draw things in greater detail. In other words, a larger scale that shows what's actually going on preliminary, on consent. Is there a second, please?
Well, can I add to that?
Yeah, sure, please.
And then look to reducing the amount of hardscape
And, okay.
add some planting in those pockets.
Where possible.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Is that a second, Rob?
Yes, that's a second now.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And you can get on the next consent calendar probably in 2 weeks. I don't know. You'll have to ask your planner and David, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could clarify the motion, was that to continue the item?
Yes,
to-
continue, whatever the words are that needs to happen for that, Kimberly.
Is it returning for preliminary final or just preliminary?
Preliminary final to the full board, to the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I move to adjourn today's December 5th, 2024 meeting.
Second that.
Any further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, we have one.